Thanks for joining us on Not Your Ordinary Sports Show. I'm Robert Henslee. Eric Winston's here every week as well, the Texans starting right tackle. Our guest, Neil Rackers, who you just saw with Eric. Neil, the kicker for the first-place Houston Texans, the 9-3 Houston Texans. Former Texan and Bill and who did I leave out? Detroit Lion.
Texan that hurt, though.
Matt Murphy is on with us, and we have Javon Walker from the Broncos, the Packers, and the Oakland Raiders.
Pack Red Heart.
Fun for us is having you watching Monday Night Football along with us, and you can send your questions in for Eric or any of our guests at Thebus TV on Twitter. That's at the Bus TV. Send us your questions. We'll get to them as the game goes on, whether it's for Eric or any of our guests. I want to get your thoughts, Eric, on tonight's matchup between two teams sort of struggling to turn things around.
It's going to be hard to sugarcoat this one. This is two teams right now that are, like you said, they're struggling. And San Diego is one of those teams, and they've been the same kind of team to me the last 4 or 5 years. They've been that team that everyone thinks has got a lot of talent, has got a great quarterback, great players, and for whatever reason they're not doing it. And this year is, I think, personified that. Last year they said, oh, they had the top offense, top defense, and their special teams were the cause. And now this year it's a lot of fluky turnovers, a lot of fluky interceptions on Rivers' part where he's getting hit or balls getting tipped, whatever it may be. They always seems to be a reason there, and it's just not working out. They're 4-8, and they got to win this one to have any hope coming in. Of course, Jacksonville's season's already over. They're playing for pride pretty much right now. They got a new coach, and they got a lot of young players. And I think when you're trying to build a team, you can still get those guys to play saying, hey, listen, you guys, everyone's got a lot to prove. And obviously when you're shaking up an organization, you want to stay around there. And the best way to stay around there is to know that you put good film out there, you played hard in the last games that might not have meant a lot. And, you got a chance to stick around. With
Mel Tucker in for Jack Del Rio, who was fired this week, you think that catches the guys' attention a little bit more in that, the head coach just got kicked out the door, and do the players think I could be next? Yeah,
I think that's usually the general sentiment when something like that happens. When the head coach gets canned, you know that no one's safe. And I think that's honestly in their situation. I think that's the way they got to be. They have to put everybody on notice, saying that hey, everyone's playing for their jobs right now, and that the general manager and whoever the new head coach will be are going to come in and are going to evaluate every single player from top to bottom. And if you're not here next year, there's a reason why, because you're playing, or if you're here next year, it might be because of the way you played in these last 4 or 5 ball games. So, like I said, Jacksonville still has a lot to play for in the sense individually. A lot of these individual guys have to play for you. Take your quarterback, for example.
Blaine Gabbert.
He has to start showing them. He has to start showing some signs of improvement, even if they're small, because if he doesn't, going into next year, they have to bring some sort of veteran in there that can come in and play, because you can't go down another season with him not playing up to NFL standards.
Who do you expect to come out on top?
I'm gonna pick San Diego, but I have no idea why.
They're better on paper, right?
Yeah, of course. Well, San Diego's better than a lot of teams.
They were a great team last year.
And that's, like I said, that's been their MO for the last 4 or 5 years. They've been a better team on paper than a lot of teams in this league, but they're finding ways to lose games, and that's really the bottom line. I think they'll end up scoring enough points, probably somewhere in the 20-21 range. Jacksonville's defense is very underrated. They're a team that haven't won a lot of games, but it's not because of their defense. They're up front, they're tough. They fill the run very well, and the pass rush hides, I think, some of the maybe not deficiencies in the secondary, but maybe lack of overall talent that they might not have.
You certainly know them well, having played them twice every season since you've been in the league. What do you guys think about this game? What should we expect? Who do you expect to win it?
Well, I go strictly off kickers. And Josh Scobie.
These are really two good kickers. Oh, I guess.
Josh Scobie is a phenomenal kicker, and I just don't know if Novak can come back after the urination incident last week.
He got caught relieving himself on the sidelines.
Which I think is garbage, to be honest with you. That's gone on 50 times in my career, and a kicker does it, and all of a sudden it's on television. So I'm sorry for Nick for that, but he got pounded a bit this week. I don't know if he can come back from it.
So his ego might have been bruised a little bit.
Definitely. So I'm going Jacksonville for that reason. I think on a Scobie field goal.
Yeah, it's going to be. I'm sure you're picking like 18-15 or some kicker score, right?
No, there's going to be no field goals to the last play of the game.
It's going to be 3-0.
3-0. High scoring.
What do you guys think, Matt, Javon?
I think I'm going to go with San Diego. The thing about both of these teams, they both got a good group of leaders on both sides of the ball. So, like we were referring to earlier, hopefully, we don't see any playoff chances, but these guys are professionals, and a lot of them are going to play for pride. A lot of them are going to play to stick around for their jobs next year. And I'm looking to see how, Phillip Rivers pulls his troops along and, get back on track from a couple of losses they had. So I think I'm going to go with San Diego. I've seen them a lot in my career, and I'm pretty familiar and capable of knowing what they can do.
Having played with the Broncos and the Raiders for a short while,
Yeah.
you're familiar with that team. Matt, what do you think? Jacksonville or San Diego tonight?
I got San Diego tonight. Nick Novak's and Maryland Terrapin, so that's what we do there apparently. But but Blaine Gabbert, I'm not going to mince words here. He's been awful this year. I kind of feel for him, being a rookie quarterback getting thrown into the fire. I don't think you don't want this year to ruin his whole career. And I think unless he gets something going, like Eric said, it seems like it will. Seems kind of gun shy, kind of jumpy in the back. So I think Phillip Rivers will. I mean, he's a veteran, even though he's had a couple of.
You think there's a lot more pressure
plays
on rookie quarterbacks now because in the last 4 or 5 years there's been a lot of success from them. You have Sanchez, Flacco, Matt Ryan, and then all of a sudden, it used to be the old adage used to be even when I got in the league, the old adage was like, hey, you draft a guy, let him hold a clipboard for a year or two, let him learn, and ever since in the last 6 years, it's transformed into, hey, we're taking you anywhere in the first 2 rounds. You're playing right away.
Yeah.
And you're expected to play well enough to win. You look at Andy Dalton, the 2nd-round pick. Like I said, Flacco, Ryan, Sanchez, Cam Newton.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at a lot of these guys, even guys that weren't supposed to be. Cam Newton, I don't think a lot of people thought he could do anything close to what he's doing right now. Even Dalton, I don't think they thought he could do anything close to what he's doing now. I think he's helped by a great defense as well. But, I think that's putting a lot of pressure, and it's going to put even more pressure on Blaine Gabbert now. He's got a good defense. He should, if he's scoring anywhere between 17 and 21 points a game, they're winning some of these games. They're not out of it. They're probably a 500 team. So the fact that he's not, I think, is going to be even more pressure going into this offseason because they do have a defense to build around.
What about offensively, though? They've got Maurice Jones-Drew, and he's, even with teams gearing up to stop the run, he's having another great year. But how many other weapons does he have? When I look at it, I don't see a lot of.
No, there's nobody.
And I don't know. I mean, how would you assess their line?
Name me the last legit receiver that's been in Jacksonville.
Ooh.
I mean, Mike Sims-Walker had a nice run there, but he's never been.
Would you consider him
put together
legit
two
number
good
one?
years.
Yeah,
No.
I mean, the last good guy I remember was it Jimmy?
Jimmy
Oh
Smith.
yeah,
Jimmy Smith.
Jimmy
Yeah.
Smith.
You got to go back a ways.
So you got to go back before I even started.
Mercedes
6 years
Lewis
ago.
hasn't done anything he did last year.
Had a good year last year, but again, a guy that hadn't.
I
put
feel
together
like
two good
he's a good tight end for Jacksonville, but he's not the receiver that you're looking for. I mean, like I said, they want a more of a physical. He's a physical tight end, can get up the seam, make big catches up the seam, but he's not a Jermichael Finley type guy. He's not even an Owen Daniels type receiver where you can use him more as a receiver. He's your traditional tight end. They have to find a number 1 receiver somewhere. They have to draft one. Because they have to start putting some pieces together on offense. And for whatever reason, they have not done that even over the last 4 or 5 years. Even some of the games they've been winning, they still haven't had the offensive pieces, to me, in place to make big runs into the playoffs and even get there.
What about the Chargers? What's gone wrong with this? This team was thought to be the shoe-in favorite to win the AFC West this year.
I think I don't know how they let it happen, but I think the biggest disappointment is how did they let Sproles go? You see what he's doing in New Orleans, and that's an offensive weapon who pretty much, I'd say, would carry them late in the season when they were down by 7. All the things that he could do. And I think they're an older team, got a lot of guys on defense who are older, and I think in this next draft they're probably going to make some changes. Who knows how long Narv's going to be around? Some
He's on the hot seat too.
I find it hard to believe that him or A.J. Smith are going to survive this year.
Yeah.
I really don't. I mean, I think both of them are out after this year because, listen, they both had the owner went a certain way when that Schottenheimer A.J. Smith thing went down. He made a clear choice. We're going to keep A.J. Smith. Schottenheimer's going to be let go. And ever since then, it's gone downhill. They were 14-2 that year. I know it's hard to get better than 14-2. But they're 14-2 that year. They were first seed in the AFC, and then the next year they were 11-5, which isn't bad. Still, they still did well. Then it was 10-6. Then they won a division at 8-8. Then they were out of the playoffs last year, and now this year they're 4-8. And it's that continual slide that's happened, and I don't know if they need to blow it up there, but they need to really look, I think, at a lot of the pieces they have there and say, okay, what are we doing? What direction are we going to go?
And they won that division, like the last 5-6 years? Like,
Oof, I don't know if they've. No, Denver won it at least.
Well, I remember
years, right?
the 2 years.
They've won it definitely a majority.
Right, they won it majority. I want to say they won it
And
like the
Oakland
last
wasn't winning
5
it.
years. They haven't won. Yeah.
Oakland hadn't won it.
Right. Yeah, I want to say they probably won it the last 5
Well, no,
6 years.
Kansas City.
Oh, last
City
year.
Oh, yeah,
last year.
last
10
year.
and 6, right?
Yeah, Kansas City won 11-5 last year, won it.
11-5.
And
But
then
you're right. I mean,
previous,
over
they
my
won it
6 years in the league, they've had to win
like
it at least 4
5,
times.
yeah.
4 or 5 times.
How did Norv stay around so long? That's my question.
Well, it's kind of a thing where people didn't perceive him as the problem necessarily. When you're having all the special teams problems, is that
Last year that was
is that
real
his
Achilles
problem?
heel.
Whose problem is that? We're this time we're fading because of this. And then the thing I think that's always helped him too is they're always a stronger team late in the year. Right,
That's true,
they're
yeah,
always
they turn
bad
it on.
early in the year. They always start 3-4, and then they win 7 straight, and all of a sudden they're 10-4, and they're the favorite in the AFC playoffs going in. That's helped them a lot. Every year they've finished strong, and now they've dug themselves such a hole now that even if they finish strong, it's still going to be 8-8. Still not going to be good enough.
Does Phillip Rivers look hurt? It looks to me
Yes.
like he's not the same. I mean, he's never had a great motion, right? Throwing motion's
He's
always
always
been
looked
kind of
hurt
shaky.
to me. That's the thing.
But this year,
Right.
He's always looked like his shoulder's been dislocated or
And
something.
it's worked.
Yeah.
For him.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
been awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, he's always accurate. He throws the deep ball real well. But you're right. There's something wrong. There's got to be something wrong because him, Josh Freeman. There's a lot of quarterbacks out there, and you wonder did they get hurt during the lockout? They didn't say anything because they didn't want to lose their salaries. They didn't want to,
Right.
which I don't
they
blame
actually
them at all.
started out well this year, but he still has not been himself.
Well, like I said, he has had. He leads the league, I think, in interceptions.
Right.
But
Which is crazy.
he
Some have
has
been
had
tipped.
a ton.
Right.
He has had a ton of tipped interceptions. He's had a lot where he got hit, the ball went up in the air, intercepted. The luck's definitely, but he's also thrown some bad passes. I mean, for them very uncharacteristic type Phillip Rivers passes that you just don't see too often.
One thing I will say about Blaine that's going to be good for him, that it can't get any worse than what it is right now. And I remember as a rookie, and you guys will know, your coach always says, if you're going to make any type of mistake, make it as a rookie because that's your leeway. So it's kind of like the season he's having right now, anything he does next year is going to excel this year. So it's going to always look like he's getting better and better and better. What I'm kind of scared of is like when we talk about Cam Newton, if next year comes around, and what if he doesn't have a year like he's having this year?
They had that sophomore slump. Flacco had it.
Sure.
They didn't have as good of numbers, and I think a lot of that has to do with the offensive coordinators all of a sudden trying to do more than
Right.
They said, we did real well running the ball 55% of the time, and we threw some slants and some deep balls here and there. Let's open it up. It shouldn't work that way, but it does.
Well, look at Bradford this year.
Yeah, Sam Bradford's.
Yeah.
I mean, I had them shoe in to win the NFC West this year.
They were the
Yeah.
up-and-coming team, right? And Bradford had a good rookie year, and this year he's been hurt and still hasn't put it
Injuries
together.
have done a lot for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. They got Brandon Lloyd now. So that's a big.
He's got a
deal for
target
them.
to throw to,
Finally,
but-
someone to throw to.
A.J. Feely has a broken thumb now, they found out today.
gosh.
And Bradford's still dealing with his ankle sprain. That's a team that's really failed to live up to their expectations, much like the Chargers here today.
But talking about Gabbert earlier, though, I mean, when we played him, it seemed like Gabbert would take his drop and turn around and have no time to throw the ball. How much does that play into it? I mean,
but it's different though in college. In college, you can block guys forever. You remember that? I mean, you can block guys, and there's here you're just hoping to make sure he goes that way, more than anything.
Ride him out 10 yards deep.
Make him go out. You're not going to stop him. You're going to just hopefully you make him go a certain way. And it seems like Gabbert's just so clueless about that he realizes that he's got to step up in the pocket and make a throw somewhere. He can't hold it, look around, and then finally find someone. It doesn't work that way. He's just got to do a better job to me of being able to make throws under pressure, step into throws when he knows he's going to get hit.
I've heard or I read recently that his big problem is that there are times where he's looking at the pass rush instead of looking downfield.
Oh yeah.
What?
Oh, without a doubt.
I mean, if I was out there, I'd be worried about the pass rush too. I mean,
Well,
how's a quarterback not supposed to at least be aware of where those
That's
guys
when
are?
they always say you feel the pass rush, and you look at Brady, you look at Manning, those guys aren't fleet of foot, but they move well in the pocket. They take those 2 steps over towards the guard, and then all of a sudden they get rid of the ball and the guy misses them. You know, those things like that. That's what being a great quarterback. It's those little things that are the intangibles of being a great quarterback, and you have to. I mean, I don't know if you can develop all of it, but you definitely have to get better at it if you don't have it. That's for sure.
You know, and speaking of the pocket, something interesting that what you just said, you know, when quarterbacks, when they feel the pressure, they step up in the pocket. What's funny, because what Drew Brees does for his advantage, you ever notice when they were talking about yesterday, he steps back out of the pocket.
He goes 7 steps back
so he can see where everybody's doing, because obviously he's what?
He needs a ladder to see over the
6 foot.
line.
6 foot, you know. But how he doesn't, you know, he might step up, but it's funny how he goes backwards.
Oh, and watch Antonio Gates with the.
That's another piece they were missing for a while too.
Did anyone hear what Eric said though?
Yeah, that was Randy McMichael.
It's like everybody's hurling this shit.
I'm pretty sure what I heard Eric say though was every time he's given up a sack, the quarterback went the wrong way.
I agree.
That's what I heard.
That's an offensive lineman's worst enemy, though. I agree with him on that.
That is not what I said.
Well, I agree with him, though. When you have a quarterback who's looking at the rush instead of feeling it, and they actually highlighted Brees yesterday, I believe. They showed how he wasn't even looking at the rush, and he knew to step up, and the guy touched his arm, and he's always downfield. I mean, that's invaluable for an offensive lineman, because you're worried about running a guy around. The quarterback's still standing there. You're running him right into him. So it looks like a sack on you, and it's really not.
Or as Eric put it, you just try to get him to go this way.
Get him to go a certain direction.
Yeah. Is that how they teach it in the NFL?
Something like that.
I'm sure John Benton will appreciate that.
I wonder if a quarterback sometimes, like, you know, you got your game plan, and I wonder if he knows, okay, this guy over here, this defensive end or this defensive tackle is going to give us trouble. Do they change up their routine as far as being in the pocket? You know, anticipating that, hey, my guy can't stop this guy.
Well,
so, you know, I might, you know what I mean? Like,
well,
I might shift over, or like, you know, when I get the snap, I'm going to go to my left just to give me a little bit more.
You see guys, if the blitz come in, hey, he throws over the guard instead of throwing over the center in the drop. He gives himself a few extra feet. I think that's kind of a better move, and he'll learn some of that stuff, but some of it's got to just be innate. Some of it has to just be natural. Hey, I feel that coming. Let me not panic. Let me just step up right here and make a throw.
How much can you all change your blocking schemes to help out if there is a particular lineman or linebacker that's really good at getting to the passer?
Well, obviously you can always chip. You can always use running backs or tight ends or whoever. You can do a lot of things, motion him, and you also can split out a tight end but keep him close enough where he has to rush a certain way. That's a big thing now, that even in no backs, if you keep a tight end split out but you kind of box that defensive end in, he has to rush at you, and you can get your hands on him a lot more. So there's different ways that I think you can help out your offensive line, but it's you know, at the end of the day, you know, it's you against them. You got to figure out a way to get them blocked.
We're having a measurement here that's going to see if the Chargers can keep this drive alive. Pretty impressive drive to start out with. They're mixing in Ryan Matthews, the tight ends, McMichael, and Antonio Gates. Rivers hasn't been intercepted yet. And
they got names for days. I mean, they got players.
Like Tolbert's a good player. I mean, they have plenty of talent. That's
how much do they miss? Javon brought up Darren Sproles. How much do you think they miss him? Because they do have Ryan Matthews and Mike Tolbert. But how much is
Matthews
Sproles?
is healthy. That's the issue they've had. Tolbert, you know, when Matthews is more healthy, Tolbert's obviously his carries go down. But Sproles is such a dynamic player. I mean, you have to miss a guy like that. Tolbert, they use him as in the same role, but he can't do for you what Sproles could.
I'll tell you how much they miss him. Sproles' stats right now, he has like over 2,000 just all-purpose yards for the team all over.
Including the kick returns.
From the kick returns
punts,
to the receiver to the punts to the running back. He has like 400 or 500 yards rushing, 500-600 yards receiving.
Right.
And then like 500, 600, 700 yards on returns. So they're missing, 2,000, yards worth of offense.
Nearly.
Which, no telling how many touchdowns that could go in.
Yeah.
I think
how many difference-making
Different
close games.
right.
When New Orleans got him, I said, "Ooh, that's a good pickup for them," because you knew the coaching there and the Breeze were going to find different ways to get him the ball and for him to get some space and get out there, because him and Sproles in space is just it's hard to tackle that guy.
And it's funny because when you talk about Gabbett, here's a quarterback in Breeze that was doing his homework before the lockout ended. They were working out together, and he knew Sproles would have a choice. And they knew they were going to probably make a move with Reggie. So Sproles, like they said, it was either going to be, I want to say, the Saints and maybe the Eagles. And, you know, what better decision to make when you're working out with Drew Brees the offseason, you know.
When he's recruiting you, you know Sean Payton's
right. You know, you're with Brees working out every day, and, you know, he's saying, hey, look, I'm going to get you the ball. You know, he's going to get you the ball, so.
You know, until Josh Cribbs gave me a thigh to the helmet this year, Sproles was the one I was most scared of because he's made me look stupid on numerous occasions in my career. Cause
when you're the last line of defense?
Well, I'm supposed to be, but
you like to get up there
first line doesn't belong. But Sproles, I've had two hands on him many times, and somehow I'm usually on the ground and he's still running.
He's the littlest guy on the field.
He's about as tall as this table.
Yeah. He's the littlest guy on the field, but he's also the fastest. I mean,
I mean, he can be full speed and he'll move 90 degrees just like that, and
I remember
I'm not
years
that
ago,
fleet of foot.
It'd be like guys like his size can't run between the tackles, and it seems like in the past decade, the best guys that run between the tackles are all the little guys.
Isn't that funny?
I mean,
Mike
one of my
Tolbert,
favorite guys was Warwick Dunn.
Right up the middle. The Chargers having some success going up the middle against this Jaguars
Impressive.
defense.
Yeah, you don't see that too often. You don't see the Jacksonville too often give up a lot of rushing touchdowns and just big gains on their kind of formation. They're scheming them a little bit here. Formation, they're doing a lot of inside zones, getting some separation. Tolbert and Matthews both run that inside zone play pretty well.
And the Chargers line's been a real problem this year, particularly because of injuries. Dealman and McNeil both out for the year.
All of them. I mean, they've had a ton of injuries. McNeil, like you said, Dealman, Hardwick just went out in this game already.
I saw him on the sidelines there.
You've had Luis Vasquez, a Texas Tech guy, that's missed a bunch of games at right guard. They've been dealing with a ton of injuries up front. Like you said, sometimes we're doing the same thing right now. You got to figure out a way to make it work.
Mix and match, make it work. Hey, we want to remind you about our sponsors tonight. As always, we've got the Billiard Factory, Verizon, and our friends at the Chicken Kitchen, 2 locations in Houston. They've generously fed all of us here in the Chicken Kitchen Lounge and all of our crew as well for Not Your Ordinary Sports Show. We'd like to thank them for their efforts, and particularly their delivery specialist, Chick Norris. Check out this video of Chick in action.
Sean.
Chick Norris.
Watch this somersault right here. It didn't get better than this. There it is.
Chick, I think you forgot something. Chick Norris, and he's a big fan of the show as well. He is joining us now and trying not to spill those drinks.
Thank you, sir.
Katie, the referee girl, assisting Chick.
I'm a pro.
Delicious.
Katie, thank you.
Okay.
Freshly squeezed.
Thank you, Chick.
Solid cup, too.
Wow.
Like it.
A little Texans cup, a little Verizon Texans.
Little
Got
Tonio
you got the ninja right here?
Yeah.
That's pretty fun.
What do you think? I think it's
love
hilarious.
That. I love
I
it.
think it's hilarious.
My kids love it. I love it. It's funny.
Is he? I mean, he's seriously into that stuff.
He's a ninja.
He thinks he
You don't
is.
just mess around with ninja.
No.
Is he the biggest ninja ever? Aren't ninjas supposed to be like small and stealthy?
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call him stealth.
No.
Nothing he does is stealthy. But speaking of Antonio Smith, there's a lot of question in the new 3-4 how he was going to fit in. He's been fantastic. It's almost like he's better in 3-4 than in the 4-3.
Yeah, I think he's much more natural 5 technique. When he's pass rushing situations, he moves down over the guard instead of the tackle. He gives guards big problems. You know, he's so much quicker than your typical 3 technique. His strength, his long arms, his moves, just everything makes up for him to be a pass rusher at that position. And then he plays the run so well from the 5 technique spot and from a reduced 3. I think that's just where he's a little undersized in that sense from the run, but he plays it so well. He's so strong, and he's long that he can get off of blockers and make a lot of plays.
Well, the Texans got some, I guess, good news today. After watching Andre Johnson go down in the third quarter of the win over the Falcons, I think a lot of Texans fans were worried that it might be the end of the season for him. But the MRI today showed a mild hamstring strain. Gary Kubiak is talking like Andre will be back clearly before the end of the year, and it's not certainly a season-threatening kind of injury.
Well, it was his other leg, so that's good. I mean, kind of, I think. I don't know. Now he doesn't have. I guess you can look at it a couple different ways. But yeah, I mean, when they say it's mild and they say, hey, it looks pretty good, especially after an MRI, you got to like it. But it's one of those soft tissue injuries. We're gonna keep getting questions about it until he comes back out there. But you never know. Yeah, there's no timetable for something like that. And at the end of the day, I mean, it's, hey, you feel good enough to run? Can you go full speed? Can you last that long? If you can, then you can play. If not, then you just got to keep waiting it out. It could be 5 days, and it could be 5 weeks. Who knows?
Neil, were you guys as worried as the fans were in the stands that Andre?
You could hear it. That was the amazing thing. Like everyone went,
yeah.
Especially the first injury. Same thing.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Pittsburgh.
I mean, obviously we're worried. I mean, it's one of our bets. One of the best playmakers in the league. I mean, as a kicker, he gets you on the field a few more times a game. You know, it's so yeah, I was definitely concerned. But you know, the thing about Andre, you never question his work ethic, and he'll be back helping us out as quick as he can.
And how about T.J. Yates getting his first NFL start against a playoff contending team, and he looked like a veteran out there.
TJ's just got a lot of poise, and I think Neil can speak on this too. Is just he's really one of the guys, and he's always been that way. He's not a typical rookie in that sense that he's not timid. He's not a guy that's afraid to speak to you. You know, if you're sitting in the lunchroom, he'll come sit right next to you and start a conversation. Which a lot of rookies, for whatever reason, you know, it's just kind of, oh, let me sit at the other table and not bother the old guys, you know. And you know, he's whether it's that or playing cards or, you know, just it's anything. You know, going out, you know, having some dinners or whatever on Friday nights. He's just always been one of the guys. So when he stepped in, it wasn't a big deal. It was like he's been here for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, being a rookie is a lot like being a kicker. I mean, your first job is to endear yourself to the teammate. And you know, TJ came in and did a great job. The guys have respected him as a third stringer and knew that he'd work hard and has been studying and would come in and do the job. So, you know, I was talking to Jake Delhomme during the game, and I said, you know, everything looks good to me, but tell me how he's doing. He said he's doing phenomenal. He said he looks great out there. So he's going through his reads properly, and that's, you know, again, I'm a kicker.
So,
I don't know.
Not to cut you off. This is vintage Blaine Gabbert right here. This is why this is as bad as it gets.
We got intentional grounding.
And it's
the rush in his face, right?
Rush in his face, but he could get out of the pocket a little bit more. The problem is he's out of the pocket, but he's not going to get this thing past the line of scrimmage, I think.
Oh my goodness!
But he doesn't get. Yeah, I mean, there's nobody.
He's worried about getting hit there.
Yeah,
right?
he's like, oh my God, someone's going to hit me. Let me run away, and he doesn't.
Right.
He was in a full back pedal as he's throwing that. That's
Eric, don't be jealous because you can't grow hair like that.
his hair is
Oh,
gorgeous though.
he's got it.
Flowing locks.
Believe me, those locks could easily start coming out of the helmet any day now. They're actually getting worked on right now.
He's probably trying
It's
to
going to have a
with
nice
Troy
flip to it too.
for what's the shampoo commercial Troy does now?
Oh, the head and shoulders.
Head and
Head
shoulders.
and shoulders. Trying to let him know,
Troy
like,
in his
hey,
hair.
I can.
What about Brett? Is that Brett Kiesel in the commercial with the beard? That's doing the. You ever seen that? Who's the one with the beard with the
He's
beard's
got
flowing?
a big beard. Yeah.
You ever seen that one?
I haven't seen the commercial.
That's
no.
hilarious. No one's seen that?
Offensive lineman with a commercial.
With Troy's in that.
Yeah, the one where he's with him.
It's Troy's hair though.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
there's one with him doing it, and it shows him and his beard's like flowing like his does. It's hilarious.
Oh yeah, you're right. I did
The
see
beard's
that
pretty
one.
good. I can't do that. I have a child's face.
Comes in all white trashy, huh?
Yes, it does.
All patchy.
I can't really get like here.
That's not the way to bring down Jones Drew.
I'll tell you,
Whoever had the first shot at him.
The one thing you never have to worry about is him running hard. That guy will truck anybody in his way, and he's so low, you can't get under him to really tackle him or stop him. So he's going to hit you, and usually he ends up getting another extra yard or two. It's so tough to stop him.
What about really good players on bad teams? It's got to be tough. Every defense game plans for Maurice Jones-Drew. They don't have to worry about Gabbert.
The worst feeling, I mean, we had it our first couple of years here, is just playing the last 3 or 4 games of the year and knowing that you're out of it already. You know, and knowing that there's no hope of you getting the playoffs, and it's tough. And but you find out, like I said, you find out a lot about the guys. You find out, and Javon alluded to this. You know, they're professionals. I mean, they got to go out and they got to prepare every week, and it shouldn't matter whether it's week 17 and they're 1-15 or 15-1. You know, they've got to go out there and play the same way. And yeah, I think you learn who the guys you want to keep in those situations for the next year and who you don't.
Dave, you've been on some successful teams, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't in the NFL.
Yeah, right.
Every team I was on was bad, so I can attest
Had
to
the
that
highs and had the
personally.
lows.
Yeah, we had all lows my whole career.
It's awful too because when you're losing, it goes so slow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And when you're winning, it goes so fast.
Yeah.
I mean, these last 6 weeks have just flown by. It seems like every other day we're getting to play.
Yeah.
The week's going that fast. All of a sudden you look up and you're done with practice. After you get done with practice on Thursday, that's the hump. After you're over that hump on that Thursday practice, and it hardly seems like we're having to go through that stuff. So it's been a ton of fun this year, especially these last 6 weeks, just running a bunch of these games out like we have. It's been a lot of fun.
I think the hardest part I had when you're on a losing team is kind of like the guys in the locker room are pretty much, the ones that keep everybody, positive, ready to go. But it's like the city hates you.
Oh yeah.
I remember losing, going out to a dinner, and the guy was like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "Trying to eat." Like I could still eat.
It's a restaurant.
Yeah, I'm not supposed to just
What are
be
you doing
home.
here?
Like,
Should
shouldn't
be
you be watching
crying in your
film?
room.
Like, it's 10 o'clock at night. Well, this film's over. So, but yeah, that's the hard part. It's just the city does not like you. The city feels like you have to be at work all day till you win a game.
Tell the truth, because I know players always say they don't pay attention to the newspapers or the talk show radio guys. Do you guys? I mean, I would, even if it was a bad season, I feel like I would want to know what people are saying about me.
I guess for my sake, it depends on how negative it is. Like if you got thick skin, then you can probably read about it and then brush it off. But if you're one who, maybe pretty hot-tempered, might react to it, then I wouldn't. I'd stay far away from it as you can. But it's like that, I know a lot of guys where if it's not going good, they won't participate or, entertain anything about the sport that they're in. They just stay far from it.
Which group are you in?
I stay far from it. Yeah, I stay far from it.
I was the same way.
I'm a reactor.
Probably because we never won. That's probably why I never watched the
I'll
TV
react.
or read the.
I find it humorous because not too many guys have kicked a football in a football game before. So
But they can all tell you what you're doing wrong, right?
They can't relate to what I do. And, the only problem I have is when they start questioning my character because of something that happens on the field. Then I have an issue with you. But and that happened a lot in Cincinnati when
Really?
And you guys may have been on bad teams, but I was on the Bengals and Cardinals.
So you got them trumped, right?
Yeah.
Lions, Bills, early Texans. We might have a little battle.
We
there.
might have
It
a
was
little.
rough.
We'll have to write down some records.
I was going to say 2-14. I got one there. 2-14.
2-14, 4-12, 6-10, 5-11.
I have
I
a
have
feeling.
2-14.
Those are rough, man.
That's rough.
Those are
You
rough years right there.
I
was
have
the
a
year
feeling
before
our
you got
crack
here.
staff
I
will
just
be
had
on
one
that.
year.
Yeah. Did you?
Just won the 1 year
You're
in Oakland.
spoiled.
Everything else was
You're
pretty
spoiled.
much we were over 500.
I started my career 0-6 in Cincinnati, and Bruce Kozlik quit.
He quit on the team.
Just quit. Said, I'm done.
Wow.
So this is how it works in the league.
You know what? I'm not sure
Wait, you
about
can
you
just
guys.
leave?
Yeah. It's like sometimes
Why'd you
whenever.
tell me?
Did y'all feel like whenever you're playing or something happens, y'all feel like you have a duty to make people understand that really doesn't understand really the basics of what's going on in the game? That's what I mean by sometimes if you want to read the negative or something like that. I feel like
I think it gets frustrating, especially this day and age too, where you got so much social media things, you got so many avenues, and it's just people, like you said, you want to make them understand, but I don't think the thing that I guess I don't know what the word is
like
for it.
Typical is kind of like I get this all the time. Why do the guys just run into the pile? And you're like, oh. They don't understand the blocking, they feel like you can just run around and score every time.
It's so easy. You
Like,
can just
why do they
pitch it
run
outside
into the
like
pile?
no one's
Because in the
fast.
NFL, there's
like,
guys
okay.
that run 4.5s playing defensive end. Okay?
Exactly.
So you better get
You're
like
right.
these
Run
routes,
into
man.
the tackle.
I do feel like
get it.
I do feel like now I'm a fan, and I go to the games, and I do feel like I'm explaining things to people. And they say like, oh, that's stupid. He should have done this. I'm like, there's no way they could have done that.
Exactly.
Like, oh, it's cover. They're trying like read coverages and say all this ridiculous stuff.
Right.
Like, no, it wasn't actually.
I got about 4 buddies who feel like they could be an offensive coordinator.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Because
so
they're really
easy.
good on Madden, right?
So I'm like, okay, so you could have called a better play than Mike Martz right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's crazy.
Jaguars with a costly holding penalty there, but they seem to be having no trouble moving the ball down the field against this Jaguars.
The Chargers are they're playing like they've used to play in the past. I mean, they're balanced, they're running it, they're getting deep balls. Rivers is getting the ball down the field. You got to remember how banged up this Jaguars secondary especially is too. I think both starting cornerbacks are out for the year. I think the third guy is also out for the year as well.
Wow.
And they're on their fourth and fifth guys. So I mean, that's an area to take advantage of.
Is that Aaron Campman?
No, that is
that
is John Chick. Yeah, that's John Chick against Jared Gaither right there. Gaither actually played for the Chiefs last week.
And they just picked him up, and he steps in the starting lineup.
He had a costly false start penalty. They cut him.
Oh, wow.
And Chargers with so many injuries, they picked him up. Didn't want to have to play him right away, but with all the injuries that they've had to deal with, he's had to step up, and he looks like he's doing okay so far.
Is it easier for an offensive lineman to step right into a position and pick up the language as opposed to, I mean, you couldn't plug a quarterback in, bring him in on a Wednesday and have him start on Sunday, but
no, I would say tight end would be second hardest. I would say quarterback, tight end, probably receiver. I'd say offensive lineman, and it depends how much you want to do with a running back, but would probably be the easiest. You know, if you don't ask him to do a lot of pass blocking, hey, we're going to run this run. A lot of the runs are the same. Go out there and run. I think defensive line is probably by far the easiest.
Right.
get the quarterback.
Here's your gap. There you go.
Make sure no one runs in this gap. And then on third and long, try to beat your guy and hit the quarterback.
There you go.
That guy has to be ecstatic, though. He gets to leave Kansas City in the wintertime and doesn't have to deal with Todd Haley. He gets to go out to San Diego. Yeah, I don't know what North Turner's like. I played for his brother in college, but it has to be better than Todd.
Is Haley the most disliked coach? Because I've heard it from other people, too, in the NFL, I think.
He's pretty bad.
I'll be out in the open.
He
was the offensive coordinator in Arizona. I didn't deal with him, and he didn't deal with me, and somehow we butted heads all the time.
Really?
Wow.
I haven't heard anybody say anything good about him.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, usually you'll hear even the tough, like Belichick and those guys. Obviously hear he was this, he was that, but you also hear guys, hey, I like him a lot. You know, he's really fair. He was this, he's that. He really cared. Even like a guy like Dick Vermeil, who just ran guys on the ground, 3-hour practices, two a days every day, 3 hours apiece, kind of a thing. But they'll say, oh man, but if you ever need anything, I'd call him. He'd be right there for me. No one says anything nice about him, about Haley. Nothing. Not like he's a great guy. Yeah, he's misunderstood. Everyone's just like, he's a, you know what. And
No what?
no, you know what.
Does part of that come from the fact that he never played football? Is there a lack of respect, do you think, or is it just his general?
No, there's a lot of coaches that never played football.
There was in Arizona. I'll be honest with you. We called him ball boy because he got to start as a ball boy. So, but I'm just being honest. But
yeah, but that comes from his personality, though.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, if he was a good coach or he was a guy that you guys respected, you wouldn't have called him ball boy. You know what I mean?
If he was a normal guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, a lot of coaches aren't normal, which is crazy to me. And you get head coaches that are just social, awkward, just weird guys, and then they're great coordinators, and then the head coach, they're not made for that. Marty Mornhinweg, my rookie year in Detroit, great coordinator in Philly and all that, but he was a terrible head coach. Yeah. Just like you saw him in the hallway, and it was awkward saying hi to him. This is weird.
Just when you
it's weird. You're like, what's wrong with this guy?
When you go to the Super Bowl and your offense essentially carries your team to the Super Bowl, and you get a head coaching job and leave the team and the offense throws a party, there's something wrong with that.
A sign that you weren't loved.
Exactly.
Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Hey, we have a question on our Twitter feed. You can send us your Twitter questions at @TheBusTV on Twitter. A comment from Rodney Linebaugh for Eric. Looks like Eric is now growing a mullet. Can he please bring back the stash?
This is not anything close to a mullet. If you're going to make fun of me, you could say something like, it looks like you're in the SEC, looks like you're going to Alabama these days, something like that.
I think it's the neck hair.
It could be.
It's got a little flow.
That's actually not head hair. That's just long neck hair.
It's got a little flow. It comes out a little.
Yeah, I think it looks nice. I try to condition it.
It's all right. I like it. It looks healthy.
Yeah,
commercial.
Whatever's in the locker room. Whatever I commandeer in the showers. But I try to sprinkle it in to make sure it's healthy.
Oh, man.
The stash is not coming back until next November.
Oh, I like that though. Okay. It was nice.
It was.
Movember. You had the
Javon
handlebars
had
going.
the handlebars
Yeah,
going.
he had a long deal.
down.
You look like a
There it is, right there.
bad, you know what?
Ooh, look at that. Look at
That's
that.
pretty mean looking right
Bear.
there.
Look like a large bear.
Ooh.
Look like you're about to go wrestle in the WWE.
That was sweet though.
That's how those wrestlers do.
Yeah, Eric looked like a wrestler that rides a Harley.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the best of both worlds.
Did your baby let you hold her with that in the face?
Daddy, no!
Scream her head
I
off?
walked in, my daughter's like, "Oh my God, what'd you do?"
What's wrong with your face, Dad?
Another Twitter question for you, Neil, about Reliant Stadium on Sunday. I guess there were some questions about the condition of the field. The question is, how would you compare the grass at Reliant to other places around the league?
You know, it's usually pretty good. I mean, because they bring it in on the pallets, there's some seams out there. But, you know, comparatively speaking, I mean, I played in Cincinnati when they decided to put Bermuda in Ohio, which was turned into a sand pit after week 2. So
I guess Mike Brown could save some money.
Yeah, I don't know. He went to field turf right after I left. Thanks, Mike. But you know, I think the surface is great. You know, obviously I was in Arizona where it's ridiculous, but it's
I did
it's
see some guys slip, but I always like it. I don't have a problem.
I thought a lot of guys had trouble with footing, at least this last time.
I personally, I thought it was horrible towards the end of every season.
Well, it was
running
early
routes.
on. When I was there, it was slippery. But what they did is they started growing more of those pallets, so it didn't get.
That's what it
overused.
was, probably, right?
So
when
it used to
they
be
had
when
the
we
game and
when we were there,
horrible.
it was.
They're flipping 2 now, I think.
Yeah, there's
okay.
2.5
So when I
fields
was
now
there,
instead
it
of like it was like 1.5.
I wore the half-inch spikes towards the end of the year. I mean, you slip
guys
every
would
2
come out
seconds.
with green all over your uniforms because they had to spray paint dark spots.
It was
in the
it was
turf
bad.
to make
Yeah,
it look green.
But the seams, you know,
Field's
It's still
good.
better than
I
field
catch
turf.
ground there every once in a
I agree.
while, and you know, but other than that,
it's better than field.
It's still-
It takes a good divot.
yeah.
It's still better than field
My
turf.
ankle's sore
It's
from
amazing the
yesterday.
maintenance on some of these fields. Feed a small country. Oh yeah, the maintenance.
You're right. Yeah,
Oh,
moving the
it's-
grass in and out.
yeah.
Like I never
Like
understood.
Arizona's ridiculous. They
the
can.
best.
You ever seen Arizona? They can like
Roll it out.
oh, sun,
Is that
like
the-
the grass needs some sun today, and they can roll it out.
They
Like
take the whole field out.
The
Yeah.
field's only inside about
Yeah.
18 days a year in Arizona.
Yeah. What?
The
18
whole
days?
thing
Yeah.
just rolls
It's like
outside
an
where
oven.
we
You know,
park
when you
for
open up the
game-
oven, you pull out the
where-
pan. They can do
where we
that.
used
They
to
got
park
these
for
doors that
game
open,
day.
and they just roll the field
And then
out,
they roll it
and it's
back
like
in.
let the grass get sun.
Is that the best turf in the league of the actual real grass?
It's been voted that for
Yeah, I like
years.
it.
It's
and
fast.
years.
It's
I
fast.
don't
up
think I
there.
played. Is there a new stadium there?
Yeah.
recently?
Yeah.
The
Looks
space.
like
I
a
played in the old
spaceship
one.
in the middle of the
Yeah,
desert.
I played in the old one. I played in the old.
Sundown.
ASU.
Yeah,
You
Sundown.
played in front of 18,000 fans.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
I
And it
did
was
too.
Detroit and Arizona. That probably was like 10 people there. It was bad.
You walk out. Hey Frank, appreciate you coming today.
What are the worst in the league? You mentioned Cincinnati, but they've gone to field turf now.
They've gone to field turf. Obviously, Pittsburgh is always pretty rough, but I think
areas.
that kind of plays to their style of football, notoriously of the Steelers. Cleveland's always pretty rough. Chicago can be rough.
The cold weather cities mostly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Chicago's
Yeah.
like rock hard. Like,
I've heard it's like concrete.
And that's,
Gravel.
I can't
The
stand
kicker
it
will
too because
take
we
that,
always
though.
talk
They
about
don't
player
like the
safety.
soft fields.
We always talk about that, but no one wants to talk about the condition of the grass in December and some of these. I mean, there's no way that Chicago should be allowed to have grass.
no.
There's no way they should be allowed to have grass.
Buffalo is field turf for that reason.
Yeah, it's
so
ridiculous.
hard.
You know, and New England went to it. They saw it coming up, and they said, we got to make this stop. We got to go to field turf."
I remember in Green Bay, like the middle of the field, they would resod it. You know, like the outsides would stay the same, but the middle, because that's where we get eaten up the most. So during the course of the game, you'll see it start to fold up. So we knew we had a good team coming in. We knew where we wanted to run our routes based off of the defense, the footing, because you know it was our field.
Yeah.
So we knew which direction we wanted to run it in and how we wanted to cut, depending on if we wanted to be a fast in and out or yeah. So we used that to our advantage.
Would they
A
heat
lot.
that field? Do they have coils underneath in order to keep it from being just icy in December?
They have a heater.
They do.
Yeah,
so
like
it's.
built in,
I mean, there
but
is
yeah.
some traction.
Some traction, yeah.
That can be worse because then
Yeah.
the snow melts and then it's just mush.
But it would
wet
just
and-
come up, yeah. It would just, you know.
Did
flip
y'all
right
play in
underneath
the Meadowlands when it was grass? Were you in? Were you guys in?
Yeah.
Remember
Yeah.
that? You got Giants and Jets playing
Jesus,
on
when
that
was
every
that?
week.
The worst one time was Minnesota before the new artificial came in.
Oh, the AstroTurf?
It would be just patches.
The squares from the
Yeah.
baseball field in the middle of it.
Where they cover up
Patches.
the
Yeah.
pitcher's mound and
Where they pump crowd noise through the speakers. They
Yes.
claim they don't. I'm like, how is it
That
this
was the
loud? There's like
worst.
50,000 people. It's the loudest place you'll ever play.
The old Meadowlands.
Just like the old RCA Dome.
Oh, yeah.
That was 01 for me, by the way. I think they put field turf in like 02, 03, somewhere around there.
Buffalo used to have the worst turf. They had the old school. Remember that?
AstroTurf.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was 02. They
hard.
Yeah, it was the
hard
old school where there was
short.
like pieces coming up. You'd see like certain spots there'd be a
Yeah.
seam and you could like lift it up.
Then it's 10 degrees and windy, and you get a nice rug burn.
Oh,
You know what's interesting about this?
Worst
And like these guys will know, they've been in the league, and everybody pretty much played over a decade. But as you get older, guys start to sign contracts based off of where the fields are, the weather they're going in. Like, oh no, guys who might have had knee surgeries,
Right.
all go out west
They want
to be warm.
Yeah.
Then they don't go towards the cold because everything just aches.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's like, what are they? They're artificial turf. Okay, I'm going to San Diego.
yeah.
Okay, I'm going to San Francisco.
I mean, that'll
75 all year.
tell you how
I'll be
bad
able to make it
Arizona
through.
is. Who wouldn't want to
Yeah.
play in Arizona?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, imagine
Exactly.
if they had a great organization out there.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, people would be fighting to get out there.
It's a good area. Jacksonville needs to step it up. Let's see here.
2 complete passes here so far. It might only be 5-yard passes, but at least it's something. 2 first downs.
Given Gabbert's trouble dealing with the rush, wouldn't you just have these short little passes?
Well,
most of the game.
it's easy to say, but it's hard to sustain long drives doing that. You
Yeah.
have sometime you got to get the ball downfield. You have to make the big 20, 25-yard gains at least once on a drive, because like it's too hard to slug it out 3 and 4 yards at a time and get those dunks and do it consistently over a course of a drive to score. And you might be able to do it once, but that's 7 points. You need
That'd be an
do it
improvement for
do it
Jacksonville.
3 more times. You're right.
I don't know. If I was the Jags offensive coordinator, I'd just get the ball in Maurice Jones-Drew's hands as much as he could handle it.
Yeah, I mean, I think they try to, but if you keep, there's only so much you can do before you start having a lot of tendencies, and
Right.
you become so one-sided that you're even worse off, and that's part of the games being hurt.
It's amazing how, depending on the situation, offensive coordinator, team, how a change, a new environment can resurrect your career. Like I'm a firm believer in whatever system you're in, that could totally, bring back, however great you were with other teams.
Without a doubt.
Like when we were talking about Lewis, I can imagine him. Feels like in the Saints, what the tight ends are doing up there. Like if he picture him in New England with those tight ends, maybe Green Bay, where they use the tight ends a lot, just basically to run the patterns. Maybe not so much blocking, but
Yeah.
He's what, 6'6", 6'7"?
oh yeah, he's a beast.
tall.
But right system, people
Right,
using him
yeah.
right. Because it's funny, man. Like I'm wondering if Chad still plays football.
Interesting guy.
Yeah, I mean, here's a guy who's
Yeah.
close to 10,000 receiving yards, and you do not see him on the field
Yeah.
in New England. And it's based off of, everybody kind of knew when watching him in Cincinnati, we would always be like, how do you run a route and get away with that? Nothing was never precise. Where in New England, that's what they're all about. And from what I've heard and hearing is like, I think he's still trying to get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
It
right.
was catered to us.
Because for the
Cincinnati,
great
though.
receiver he is, you
Yep.
mean to tell me you can't put him on the field?
Yeah, they keep saying he doesn't know the plays.
Or the terminology,
Yeah,
which,
yeah.
and that's also something that I heard, which,
Well, I mean, I'm sure. I mean, he's not stupid. So
Yeah.
I would think after that long a time, you can pick up a playbook. It doesn't take that long.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
what?
Jeez.
But it's funny because I've been in some like, usually guys who come from number systems, that's a little bit easier than like
Oh, yeah,
a
numbers.
West Coast where it's just memorization, where you'll
Numbers
hear
is
the
for sure
play
easier.
and you don't know nothing in that play that tells you what
It
to
doesn't
do.
tell you, yeah.
And I've been with some guys who just don't get it, where it's like, okay, you got to do this, and it's just kind of like one of those back to school
You're right.
drills again.
Yeah, it's
like I'll pick out something to where it might be the key word you're looking for.
Sure.
So if I know this is what he has to do on this play,
Right.
then this is what I'm running.
Yeah.
When you
Like
say a
two jobs
numbered
smoke.
system, just for the casual fan, each route that you run has a number, correct?
Right, like a number system is you got specific routes from 0 to 9.
9 is
Yeah.
9's a good
straight.
So
they're all
if,
usually the same too.
Go
So if
route.
you go from one number system to the other, you can pick it up pretty fast.
so like if we were all receivers, us three, and we said 685, well the 6 would go to the Z, the 5 would go to the tight end, and you know whatever the last number would go to the X. So it made it easier to switch positions just knowing where you fall in the order of that number. But then when you're not in the number system, you hear, you know,
Two-jet smoke.
Nickelback, you know,
You're like,
whatever.
what is that?
You know, and you're like, okay, what do I do on this? Okay, now they're like, go play Z. And then you're thinking, okay, well, what does he do on this?
Yeah, you're right, though.
So it makes it hard to be interchangeable
Right.
in like a memorization.
But going back, if we were all receivers, who would you throw the ball to first?
Oh, you know what? I would use both of you guys. You know, maybe a little.
I'd throw to Neil.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
I'm thinking he might be hard to bring down, though.
Former tight end.
Yes,
He'd be harder to
you
bring
haven't
down.
seen
He's
Eric,
gonna have to
Eric
catch.
in action as a tight end.
Neil's
either.
going to go
Guess
deep.
that tape needs to be brought back out again to remind everybody.
Going deep in yards after catch. You know, everybody
And-
wants the yak.
Neil would try to kick, you know, you'd throw it to him and he'd try to catch it with his feet.
He would. He'd
Right.
kick it back to himself and go.
Nah, I'd lower the shoulder.
That's what I'm
Take
saying.
that
That's
going
what I
out
think.
of
I think
bounds
he'd
and
lower the shoulder and go.
I've always wondered, do a lot of teams base their red zone off of, you know, the distance that you're comfortable with?
No.
What do you mean?
Well, because like say for instance in Oakland with Sebastian, how we were talking about him earlier, we knew if we got to the 50, we were good. You know, like this is the red zone for us.
Right.
You know, where most people, okay, let's get to the 30, that way, okay, we got some. But we knew once we got to the 50 or the 40, okay, we're good.
I don't
We'll
want
let
to
'em kick
offend
us
anybody, but I
75.
think there's a large discrepancy in the offenses between when you were in Oakland and.
Yeah.
you
Oh
know,
yeah.
So they're going for 7. You guys were happy with 3.
Oh, exactly.
They did draft Janikowski in the first round.
No,
They got to
I
get their money's worth.
I was just wondering, I never
No,
knew if it was
these guys gotta start
certain.
kicking
Is
some
the
field goals.
30 the norm though?
Yeah.
3rd and 6.
30, yeah.
Send
Yeah, 30
Jakowski
is the
out
norm.
there.
Yep.
They're telling
Let's
me.
get on the
30 's
board.
Just all it was is just score
Coach,
some points.
we got another down. I don't care.
Well, you see, because the
they tell-
offense changes too.
Yeah.
You know, like when you're running plays, like sometimes I couldn't wait to get to the 50 because now it's like, all right,
Yeah.
you know, the playbook goes from tonight. Okay, this
Right.
is because you know you got red zone plays.
Yeah, I mean, they tell me if it's inside 45, you better make it, and if it's outside 45, you better make most of it.
Yep.
You know?
Do you tell before the game? The coaches always talk about, all right, you know, we had a yard line in mind that if we get to, we're going to kick the field goal. Do you
Right.
tell them that, or do they decide that on their own?
You know, Joe kind of watches warm-ups, and he kind of makes that decision.
Joe Marciano, your special teams coach.
Yes, and you know, it's situational. It seems like with Coach Kubiak, you know, it's situational. Like if Jacksonville game, you know, we didn't kick a 55-yarder with the win after we just made a 53 against the win.
And I knew you could make it.
Well, but that's the thing. If I do miss it, that's the only way they can get back in the game. They haven't driven the
Right.
ball all game.
That's true.
And so I don't argue with that.
People got
I
to
really
remember,
don't.
too, that in college, you get the ball from where it's snapped, and the pros, you get it from where it's
Spot.
held.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And that's
An
an
extra
extra
7 yards.
7 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, that's almost a first down. So
8.
If you're
is it 8 now? Do
like
you guys hold it at 8?
Yes.
Yeah, didn't he used to be 7?
Yeah. Why did it move back?
Years
I
ago it
think-
was 7, right?
Yeah.
I think the reason that happened, honestly, is because in college, the extra point line's at the 3, and in the pros it's at the 2. So everyone just
Yeah,
went
They
you,
go to
think
the
it has,
10?
you think it has anything to do with how much better the field goal block is now?
I mean, when one of your buddies, Calais Campbell, out in Arizona, is blocking 6 kicks a year, I want to go back
How about
to
the guy
10.
from Seattle, Red Bryant, that
Yeah.
Did
he
he have
blocked
two in a game?
two blocked field goals in 2 different games,
Wow.
Jeez.
twice.
He had 2 double
Yeah.
blocks?
That's
Wow.
ridiculous.
So he blocked 2 in the Cleveland game and then blocked 2 in the.
Are we going to the point where
Arizona game or
you have
something?
long snappers now, right? You've got your designated long snapper. You have a designated kick blocker. A
There's
big
just
6
some
foot
guys-
guy.
Tell you what,
If you got
there's
somebody
some
that can
guys that can
guarantee
do
it,
it.
it's worth
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Chris Jenkins is one of those guys.
Don't look now.
Block kicks.
Blaine Gabbert just threw a touchdown pass.
To
Wow.
Maurice Jones-Drew. Good drive for the
That was
Jaguars.
a great drive for him. It ate up a lot of time. It kept the defense off the field. They've been on the field a bunch. Made him feel good about himself.
Gets to pump his fist.
He still needs to work on his
I was
touchdown
gonna say,
celebration
yeah,
because
that
that
was
was
weak.
very
weak sauce.
very uncoordinated the way he was trying to pump his fist
He did one
and
of
bring his
these.
left arm with at the same time. Everything's got to go in the right motion. You can't be pulling it.
He
one
doesn't get
way.
much practice with that. I mean, it's Jacksonville.
Well, you got to
Is
get
that
in the
his
front.
first
You got to get in front of the mirror. You got to do something. We got to make this happen.
I will
His
never
first
mock
touchdown,
anyone
12 games
else's
in.
celebrations, Just so you
After.
know. You know, I get
After
excited.
what you did.
The day I don't get excited with what I do, I'll go do
After
something
that
else.
53-yarder he hit in Jacksonville, and he did this.
Hey, we don't need to go into
What'd you do?
details.
He did this. Yay! And he like twirled around and swung his hand.
Well, I wanted to get back and shake your hand. So
It's like, yay!
Well, while the Jaguars celebrate their first touchdown of the night, it's time for our first one-on-one segment. Eric Winston going one-on-one with his teammate Neil Rackers. Unfortunately, coaches don't let these two go one-on-one in practice. So while we get the blocking sleds in place, let's check out a video of a huge day Neil Rackers had when he was kicking for the University of Illinois.
Football, Gino, but he caught the football. Here's a stellar day for a kicker. This is at Iowa. This is the 49-yarder, the 50-yarder. Now watch this. Steve Fitz, who threw for a completion today. This is Efren Herrera type stuff. Rackers into the end zone.
You could tell he doesn't catch the ball that much because he's holding the ball right in the middle of it.
In the second half on Tennessee. Good return, but a hard hit to take Mariani down. Neil Rackers, the kicker, made contact. 29-yard return. Well, Neil Rackers, after that big hit on the kickoff return, getting handshakes all around. I know they call Brett Hartman, his kicking partner, hitman for a couple of pretty good shots that he has delivered. That pass intended for Nate Washington, but Neil may claim that nickname.
We got to go back and look a couple times to make sure it was actually Rackers. You don't see kickers stick their head in there like that. That's a pretty good form tack. I think it caught Mariani by surprise.
yeah, didn't like.
Head across the bow, and then hit, and then come up with a nice fist pump. That's the way to do it right there.
Hey, you know, just trying to do what you guys do.
You don't see me tackling anybody, I'll tell you that.
Only on holding calls, right?
That's right. Yeah. So and the ones they don't call either.
Oh, there you go.
So you grow up in St. Louis, and a lot of NFL kickers are soccer players.
Yes.
You know, they grow up, play a lot of soccer, and at some point someone was like, hey, come kick for our team, and you realize you can end up making more money doing that and get better college scholarships and everything like that doing that. How was it for you?
You know, I was a soccer player. I still consider myself a soccer player in pads. Hate to watch it, love to play it. But yeah, I was always the free kick guy, and our football team won 2 games in the 4 years that I was there. And in soccer, we won state 3 out of 4 years. So obviously, most of the athletes played soccer at my school, and went out to kick. Long story short, I kicked a 35 and 47-yarder in my first game. And Pat Leahy from the New York Jets happened to be at the game. Played for the New York Jets for 17 years and was a friend of a friend. And every Sunday from then on out, worked with me. Kind of taught me the game and talked me out of taking a soccer scholarship to University of Kentucky and talked me into walking on to Illinois to play football.
Now, was that hard for you? Was that like to say, man, I'm not going to go take this scholarship to play soccer. I'm going to go walk on at Illinois, big state school where there's probably going to be a lot of walk-ons,
right,
and try to kick.
You know, it's one of those.
I guess
deals.
what made you want to do that? I guess what was the overriding factor?
You know, I was just willing to take a chance. You know, I mean, he had that much faith in me.
Did you see the future kind of behind it? Like, hey, if I do this really well, I might have something. Whereas you can be the best college soccer player in the country, and at the end of that 4 years, that's pretty much it.
You know, I didn't even look that far ahead at that point. I mean, I saw that I didn't realize that what I was doing was that great, and everyone else made a big deal out of it. So I looked at it as an opportunity. If a guy that did it for 17 years in the NFL thought I was capable, then go take a shot.
So what happened at Illinois? I mean, what was the situation when you got there? Obviously, it wasn't a good team, right, when you got there?
No. I mean, we had Simeon Rice and Kevin Hardy, and that was about it. And,
and me.
Well, there you go.
I was third on the team in tackles, right?
Pretty close. But they, yeah, so I got there, and I was number 105 out of 105 that got to go to camp that year and couldn't get a pair of socks. And you know how that goes as a freshman walk-on kicker. And they had a guy that they had scholarship that was all everything in Florida, and they told me I wouldn't play till my 4th and 5th years, and so I redshirted and just went to work. And 3 games into my freshman year,
your redshirt year or the second season?
My freshman eligibility year, 3 games in, they said, "Hey, you're going today." And there it went.
And the rest is history.
There you go.
Now, how was your career at Illinois? Obviously, pretty good, but would you say, looking back on it, that you played pretty well, or is it something that you're still kind of learning the position?
I was still learning. I mean, I was. I think I was 3 for 5 my first year, and then we had 10 field goal attempts my sophomore and junior years, because usually we were behind so much that we didn't kick field goals in the second half. And
Come on, Coach, get me out there. I'm a weapon.
Exactly. And then my senior year, we were 20 or 21 to 26 with a lot of long field goals, and kind of teams were looking at me more for kickoffs at that point. And then just took advantage of the workouts and had 2 teams that wanted me and ended up getting drafted by the Bengals.
Now that's a pretty big deal. I mean, to get drafted as a kicker, there's not a lot of them. I mean, even the big-time kickers in the game today, your Robbie Golds, name your kicker other than Janikowski, most of them just go undrafted, and then they kind of find, okay, this guy needs a kicker, I'm going to go there, and the top kicker coming out gets the pick first, and it falls down that way. Not a lot of draft pick. How did you feel when that day? Were you expecting to get drafted, or did it kind of come as a surprise?
I was convinced I was going to be a Chicago Bear. They had showed up 4 times. I didn't miss. Went out to lunch with them. Draft day, I'm on the phone with Chicago. They say, "Congratulations, you're our next draft pick."
Is that right?
And I'm on the phone, and finally the gal said, "Oh," and she let an expletive fly, and I said, "Excuse me?" She said, "Cincinnati just took you the pick before a click." I was like, going to Illinois, I wanted to go to Chicago.
So Chicago was the pick right after Cincinnati?
Yes.
Cincinnati took you?
Yes. And so, things did not go well in Cincinnati, and, it was a great learning experience, though. I'm grateful to the Bengals that they stuck with me for as long as they did. And then
so you go from Cincy to go to Arizona, kind of started in Arizona. It's the same thing you left in Cincinnati, just a bad team, not very good, but you ended up kicking in a Super Bowl. Kicking
a Super Bowl, Pro Bowl, it was a good experience for me.
You like a lot of the guys out there?
I was...
Was that your first, real fun experience in the NFL, where you really felt like, hey, this is what it's all about?
No question. And that's one of the things when I got to Houston that, I was leery. It was hard to leave Arizona for me because we did have such a great locker room and a great crew of guys. And, going to a new team, you just never know what you're walking into. And that's one of the things I told my wife when I got to Houston. I said, I feel like... I have faith that you can go other places, and this does exist other places, because we have a great locker room here as well, and great diverse crew of guys that just hang out together. So
now you got a lot of accomplishments already, like you said, a Pro Bowl. You had, I think, 37 out of 40 last year, right, or something like that, or 30. What was
27 out of 30.
27 out of 30. Yeah. A lot of accomplishments, and you also hold the NFL record for most field goals in one year at 40, which is a heck of an amount. I mean, think about it. You're kicking 2.5 field goals a game. What's your biggest thing that you're most proud of?
Well, honestly, the thing I'm most proud of is that I was voted a captain by my teammates in Arizona, and I was voted a captain by my teammates in Houston. And I mean that.
It means a lot from, people don't realize, I think, how much that means to when your players, your peers kind of vote you in.
Definitely.
What that means.
I mean, it just it tells you that you're doing your job. You're a good role model for the other guys, and the fact that they respect you, especially when it's hard. Sometimes in my position to get respect.
Sure.
That means more to me than anything.
Now, thanks for thanks for being here. First of all, thanks for coming on the show. And here's a little video of why Neil Racker should be your fantasy kicker.
Uh-oh. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to show you a little something I've been working on. We're going to take these first 2 balls and hit them off the left upright. Then we're going to take the next 2 balls and hit them off the right upright. You need a kicker, right? pick me.
Okay, how about Javon?
Check.
All right. Robert, I hear you.
Neil Rackers with Eric Winston, our one-on-one segments. You can check those out on our website, thebustTV.com. Later this week as well, we'll put all the individual one-on-one segments. Eric's going to sit down with Javon Walker and with Matt Murphy as well. If you're just joining us, thanks for joining us on Not Your Ordinary Sports Show. I'm Robert Henslee. Eric Winston's here every week as well. Our crack research staff has been checking out y'all's outstanding resumes for the teams you've been on. And they report that although Neil had his first 7 years in the league on teams that lost at least 10 games.
Ooh. Wow.
That's rough.
Awesome.
It's actually Matt who has the worst winning percentage of the two of you.
Congratulations.
Because of me.
34% winning percentage. You guys basically lost 2 out of 3 games your entire career. Neil thinks probably to the Texans this year and maybe that Arizona year when y'all went to the Super Bowl, 39% career winning percentage. It's still nothing to write home about.
What people forget is we were labeled the worst playoff team in NFL history at 9-7.
9-7.
Yes.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
that didn't help much.
Turned out pretty well for you guys going to the
There you
Super
go.
Bowl.
It
right?
did. It
And
did.
look at Maurice Jones-Drew breaking off another long
Okay.
run.
Who did I pick? I'm
The
sorry. Who
Jags,
did I pick
man.
before
The
this
Jags
game?
Did.
He has to have over 100
Tell you what,
yards.
the Jags came out, looked kind of lifeless. Didn't look like they had a lot of pep. And over these last couple of drives, they've got something going. They found some stuff that works. He doesn't get the credit a lot like I think Arian of the kind of receiver he is. He's got pretty good hands. He's not a deep threat in the sense that he doesn't have the size to motion out wide and then go down the field on a fade. But on the screen routes, on the circle, and the little Texas rowdy right there, he just kind of turned around, a little quick screen. He can do a lot of that stuff, and he's dangerous. It's hard to cover him one-on-one with a middle linebacker.
He already has 125 yards combined rushing and receiving in this game. And the Jags threaten to take the lead here.
Wow. You know what's crazy is that they don't use him as Baltimore uses Ray Rice. I never understood why. Ray Rice, they split him out and they run slants with him. They do a lot more with him as a receiver. And MJD is not the same running back, but the same type of running back at least, with good hands. So I never understood why Jacksonville doesn't split him out more.
Kind of goes back to, the system and what
they're
the
using you
offensive
as.
coordinator wants to do and how he wants to utilize
Ray
everybody.
Rice, they get him the ball whenever possible, which makes sense.
Different numbers.
Well, too, you got to realize
Right,
too that
yeah.
when you split him out,
Well, you can't run.
there's a good chance. Well, you can't run, but there's a good chance their best cover guy might go get on.
Because they don't have to worry about the receivers?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, yeah,
you're in
you're right with
Baltimore,
Jacksonville. Yeah,
you still
you're
got a lot of other guys.
Torrey
It's
Smith
just,
is
you got
still
Torrey
fat,
Smith
yeah.
going down the field.
Maryland Terrapin. Just saying.
Anquan Bolden.
Nice helmets.
You got a lot of those Florida State Seminole.
Yeah.
Anquan Bolden. You got a lot of guys there that you're like, we can't just go splitting a corner out on Ray Rice.
Ray Rice,
Let's go put a linebacker on him. So you get, I think it's all about the favorable matchups. And like I said, I think Mercedes Lewis will become a better player. I think Jones-Drew will become even a better player when they put at least one stud out there that say, hey, you got to put a number one corner on this guy because he will get 10 catches for 100 yards a game if you don't.
There was a time when they drafted a receiver first round. I want to say Reggie Williams. Was he a first-round pick? He had a couple of
Out of
6'5"
Washington, right?
receivers.
Yeah, I don't think he was a first
Maybe
round.
second-round pick.
He was
They did.
a high pick.
And
though,
they
yeah.
drafted the quarterback out of Arkansas, converted him to wide receiver, Matt.
Right.
Oh,
You're right.
Yeah, Matt Jones.
Matt Jones.
They put him
you're
there for
right.
Didn't work
years. He
out
was there
too
for
well.
years.
Yeah.
He ended up with some off-field issues.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
To say the least. Hey, as we approach halftime, now's a great time for you to check out the Billiard Factory, billiardfactory.com. They provide us with all the furniture you see here on the Not Your Ordinary Sports Show set. You can build your very own man cave to watch Monday Night Football, or Sunday Night Football, whatever you want to watch. at billiardfactory.com. It'll take you less time than it takes these two coaching staffs to make their halftime adjustments. Just go to billiardfactory.com to build your own man cave like the one we have right here on our studio set. While we wait for the teams to come back from the break, we have a question from the crowd. Katie, the referee girl, is going to bring in our question from the crowd this evening.
What's up, guys? Oh, actually, my first question does involve a bit of a little pose. Yeah, how do we feel about it? Is that good?
It's all right.
Yeah, it'll do. So, finalists are announced today. What are y'all's opinions? Who do y'all think is going to get it on Saturday?
The 5 finalists announced today. Andrew Luck, no surprise there. Trent Richardson from Alabama. Tyrann Mathieu, LSU defensive back, is nominated as well. We have Robert Griffin III, the quarterback from Baylor. And Monty Ball is a little bit of a surprise, a Wisconsin running back whose numbers are fantastic, but hadn't gotten a lot of publicity leading up to it. What do you guys think?
I think Trent Richardson still gets it.
You really think so?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't hear the buzz for him. Usually you hear some sort of buzz going on about a guy that's going to get on.
Right.
I haven't heard much Trent Richardson buzz at all. It's funny, you look at the stats, the kid from Wisconsin's got way better stats.
Oh, he had way more touchdowns.
Like 38 touchdowns
ridiculous.
now, I think.
It'll be interesting to see. You know, it all comes down to the end of the day. It's kind of, I wouldn't say politics, but who ends up splitting the votes? You know, who ends up getting those votes?
Right.
You got the running back people that will always vote for a running back, and then you got the quarterback people that's always going to vote for a quarterback. Then now with Matthew in the finals, you got to wonder how many purists are just going to say he's the best player out there, and I'm going to make a statement by voting for the defensive guy. You know, it'll be interesting to see how the votes get broken up. And I think if you look at Andrew Luck, I mean, he's had an unbelievable year, better career.
I think he was better last year than this year.
Yeah,
he was.
He was on a better team, though, too, last
Well, he
year.
has no receivers this year.
Right.
He has tight ends.
Right.
And a new coach.
What's wrong with that?
If he gets it, it'll be much like a kind of a lifetime achievement award.
And we have a touchdown here. Flag on the play.
Don't look now. Blaine Gabbert has just thrown 2 touchdown passes in one half.
What day is it?
I'm
What time
sensing
is it?
you're not a big Blaine Gabbert fan.
Cecil.
It's the hunt.
It's not that I'm not a fan. You know what? I can genuinely say I like to see everyone do well.
Right.
But it's just, I do. I do. Except
He's
10 people.
Is this going to be defensive pass interference?
But he
Cecil
just
Shorts-
hasn't done it. You know, it's just.
Oh, yeah.
The one thing I will say I hate is this when guys get so many chances because of where they're drafted.
Yeah.
Right.
I hate that. I don't like it just because they're first-round picks that they're going to get stuck out there and they get to work through stuff. Whereas if you're a 5th-round pick, you're going to get cut or something.
The leash
not
is a
gonna-
lot shorter, isn't it?
Or 7th round.
It's not gonna happen anymore though, because you've got a lot less money going to these in the rookie pool, and a lot less money going to these guys. So I think they're gonna get pulled a lot quicker than they would have a few years ago.
I think I think the enticement's not, but it's still a pick. It's still one of those such coveted draft choices that guys are going to have to. You know, you're going to want to see developing. You don't want to ever give up on too early because you don't. And I think a lot of it is because I really believe a lot of people don't cut certain players because they're afraid they're going to go somewhere else and do well.
I think most of it is that they don't want to look stupid.
Yeah, exactly.
The guy.
For picking that.
They don't want to look wrong.
And they've also
That's my
invested
guy.
a lot of money
Because
in
of the
first-round
ego
picks.
thing.
It is. It's
Well,
my
that's like
guy.
the Heisman people look stupid for not having Case Keenum on here.
Yeah, an interesting
He broke some
omission.
records.
Case
last game.
Keenum set the all-time passing touchdown mark.
All about the taste you
does
leave in
it.
their mouth.
So
at
did
the
Timmy
end.
Chang.
Same reason why Tyrann
What'd you
Well,
Mathieu.
Houston
It's
was
all about the
good.
taste you leave in the
Houston surprised me this year. They really did.
It's all about the last couple games, though. It really
If
is.
they
in this
beat
case.
Southern Miss to finish off a 13-0 season, is Case Keenum
yes.
going to New York?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Tyrann
So,
Mathieu, the last couple weeks, have brought him into the fold.
Yeah, he
Case
wasn't
Keenum
getting a
this
lot of love
last
early
game.
in the year.
It's amazing the power of media because when you look at all the quarterbacks around, you know, I have even though he might be a great pro, like you said, but I think like Andrew Luck, I don't see why he's even in the race. You know, I know he might be a better pro, probably gonna be the first overall
He has
pick.
put up some big numbers, and let's not act like Stanford's littered with just unreal athletes either. I mean, he's a big reason the success
Unreal
they're having.
brains.
You gotta be pretty smart, right?
Great brains.
Like, do we have his numbers? Like, what is his stats?
We can
His
get
stats,
them.
yeah, we'll pull up. His stats are pretty good. They're not, it's not ridiculous. I mean, it's not like.
Let me ask you this, though. If he was in the SEC, say he played for Alabama, would his numbers be as good if he was facing the LSU's and
No.
I mean, the better defenses
No.
this year? I mean, that's to me where I have a hard time
Well, okay,
weighing the
is he
numbers.
playing on an SEC team?
Yeah, I'm saying if he played, let's say he
Okay,
played
so if you're
for-
saying if he was playing on Alabama, he wasn't going to
Well,
put up, he's not going to throw 35 touchdowns? If he's the quarterback
Would he?
from Alabama, oh my God.
Yeah, I think he'll do good.
They would beat everybody by 50 points if he played for
okay.
Alabama.
What if he's on a?
I don't agree with that.
If he's on one of those good
You
teams.
think if he played for Alabama or LSU, they wouldn't be?
He's in the Pac-10. Look at the defense he's going against. It's not a Houston Conference USA.
Well, but my
type
point is,
argument,
it's all relative. I mean, if
Yeah.
he's in the Pac-10 with those athletes, going against USC, going against Oregon, now if he gets to go to the SEC and give him some good. I mean, maybe not even Alabama or LSU athletes. Give
If he's
him
on
Florida.
Arkansas.
Give him Florida. The guy from Arkansas was putting up big numbers at Arkansas with the guys he had.
Sure.
I mean, let's not.
I think he'll manage it well.
Why is no one talking about RG3 here? I don't understand.
Robert Griffin III.
Look, he's my second choice.
Fantastic
Now that
numbers.
Keenum's not in there, that's just the Texans.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, it's Baylor.
Yeah, I like that guy. If I had a sleeper, it would be him.
I think RG3 is the best
honestly,
player.
I do too.
I'd like to see him win it.
I don't think
I
he'll.
really would.
I don't
Seems like a
think
great
he'll
kid.
win.
Seems like a great story, guys.
Where's he from? Like the hill country of Texas?
Born in
and-
Japan.
Really?
Really?
2 Army sergeants for parents.
Wow.
And I think, but he's from Central Texas. I think their parents got moved back here.
Really a bright young man with a world of
No, I
potential.
got myself
Masters.
in Central Texas, and if you go through those little towns, you will see his name is on everything. The waiter at the Mexican restaurant will talk to you about him. I mean,
But
he's their pride and joy.
to me, the Heisman is the guy that means the most to his team.
Right.
And I mean, if you look at what he's done for that team, it's pretty amazing.
People, and
Again,
it's
we're
amazing.
talking about Baylor.
You also get a lot of credit. Give a lot of credit to Art Briles,
Not
too.
like academically.
Give a ton of credit to Art Briles. And I'm surprised his name isn't coming up for a lot of these.
Some of these openings, right?
Because if I'm a guy, I'm looking at Art Briles. I mean, think about what that Baylor job was 6 years ago. Yeah. What was that Baylor job? People said if you go to Baylor and can somehow get to 6-6, you're an
a huge
amazing
success.
coach. You're an amazing coach because they couldn't win 3 games a year. They couldn't. There had been Kevin Steele was there. They had run through a gamut of coaches, and none of them could win more than 3 games. None of them. They were brutal for 20 years. They were brutal.
And when Browse took that job, people said he was just taking the paycheck because you'll never be good at Baylor.
You can't be good at Baylor.
Yeah,
You can't.
You're recruiting
You can't.
against
and
Texas
people
and
forget.
A&M.
People forget. Art Briles had RG3 coming to Houston.
Right.
Yeah.
He was committed to come to Houston, wanted to play for him. So you can say a guy like that wants to play for Art Briles. You stick him somewhere now. I mean, if I'm A&M, I'm not looking at Kevin Sumlin. Give me Art Briles.
Go get Art Briles and bring
Why
him
not?
to Aggieland.
Is he in the running for Coach of the Year?
He should be.
He should be. Is he?
It's
don't
probably
think
going to
he
be
is.
hard for him to, just because of their record.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, 9-3. He's got a chance. Who are they playing in the bowl? They go in the
I
Holiday
don't know
Bowl.
who they. No. Texas is going to the Holiday Bowl.
No, they're going to the Cotton Bowl then.
Are they? Yeah, I think that's right. We've got the
Baylor?
numbers.
Who's Baylor playing? Let's go, research staff. Let's go. Get on it.
We've got
Crack team.
Come on, crack team.
While they're looking it up,
Jeez.
Come on,
here are the
crackheads.
numbers.
I mean, team.
Andrew Luck has passed for 3,100 yards this year, 35 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. That's roughly the same numbers he had last year. He's
Bush
rated
League.
5th in the country.
Okay.
Robert Griffin has the #1 passer rating. If I'm not sure the QB rating is all it's cracked up to be, but he's completed 72% of his passes, thrown for almost 4,000 yards, 36 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. I mean,
How many?
How many
the
times he
numbers
rushed
are better.
What about rushing?
That's
the key.
he's-
You know what? But
well,
he
Luck's a
doesn't
good
run
runner,
as
too.
much you think.
No, he
Luck-
doesn't.
Luck
He
runs a lot.
runs
And
when
that's
he has
where
to,
a lot
when
of
he's
people,
smart.
you know,
Yeah, he's a
obviously
beast,
the
though.
usual comparisons always like Michael Vick, and he's like, well, to me, I would say is the same kind of athlete. Yeah, probably. I'd say Michael Vick's probably still a little bit more explosive, but he does a much better job of using his feet to move and then stay alive and pass it. Whereas Vick, even early on at Virginia Tech and even early on in the league, was let me get out of here and let me take off, which wasn't a bad thing either
When
because
he was in Atlanta, he
torching
was a
people.
run first
Yeah.
quarterback for sure.
So I think those are kind of big differences. And I don't know. I get the feeling that Griffin's maybe a little bit more NFL ready than people think. I don't know what the offense is, how they're going to read it. But I think on a team that wouldn't heavily rely on him, has a good running game that could use him, because remember, he's going to be such an asset for a running game when he boots out. You know, if you can give him outside zone, then he boots out, you have to have somebody on him. Because if you don't, he just keeps running down the sideline. And that's the truth. I mean, you can't just have, so that's going to open up holes for their running game. You put him on a good team like that, like a Miami. I feel like if he goes to Miami, I think that's awesome for them. Yeah, I think he would be unreal in Miami. Yeah. I mean, I think that fits what the owner wants to do.
Is he the number 2 quarterback taken in this draft, or does he go after Matt Barkley?
I think it just depends what kind of team is in those spots. I'm not convinced. Listen, Luck's probably going to get it on sheer hype, on what things are happening. I'm not saying he doesn't.
The tools are there.
Yeah, he will.
Well, let's not act like if Barkley comes out that he's not right there too, with the same kind of tools, the same kind of ability. And then to me, the wild card is you have Griffin. And his stock is soaring a lot because of what your boy in Carolina's doing right now.
What Cam Newton's doing.
Oh, yeah, it's unbelievable. What he's doing, what he's been able to do. In general, too, what spread quarterbacks around the league coming from spread college offenses and now are adjusting so much better than they used to in the past.
I wonder if teams who are gonna maybe go through this whole draft process, it may depend on the upside too. Some teams will look at somebody and see, okay, has he peaked already? And how much room can this guy get better to maybe in the next 2-3 years?
Which of these guys that we're talking about, the quarterbacks, do you see that potential?
Either from Baylor,
right?
Quarterback from Baylor, and
is Andrew Luck as good as he's going to get right now?
This is what I'm trying to compare that. I'm trying to see, if Andrew Luck is he's there.
Say that about Peyton.
That Peyton was a great college quarterback, but wouldn't really
Well, not that he's not good. Yeah, but he's like, this guy is. His dad was a great NFL player. He's learned everything he can learn.
Well, you're right. You're right.
He's not going to get any better. This guy he's learned all he can learn. There's no way he's going to get any better. And I'm like, come on.
It's the same reason why Ryan Leaf was drafted before him. You're right. Ryan Leaf had more upside.
Right, more upside.
So did Achilles Smith.
Ryan Leaf was drafted before him.
No, Manning went number 1 and Leaf went number 2. Right. That was the decision they had to make.
RG3 for mine, and I guess we'll all find out.
Thank you,
Katie.
Katie.
All right, Katie, thank you.
Well, you know what? Because the big thing, too, obviously, once you make it in the league, everybody here knows your athletic ability, yes, it makes a difference. But at quarterback, how smart you are can make you seem like you're on the same level of, Michael Vick or Peyton Manning. If we were playing an athletic game, I'm taking Michael Vick. If we're reading defenses, breaking it down, I'm taking Peyton Manning.
Right.
So, the quarterback position is going to be maybe who can retain the most, and, how do they do in the real offense?
Mm-hmm. Is there an SEC bias in that we know it's the best conference in college football? Should the best player in the best conference win it? In other words, Trenton Richardson or Tyrann Mathieu, if you want to go defensive. I don't think Matthew's going to win.
Not necessarily, because I don't really believe. I mean, I just don't buy the argument that Andrew Luck's not a great player in the SEC, and that Robert Griffin III is not a great player in the SEC.
Right.
I don't buy that.
Great player is a great player, no matter what conference.
I mean, it's not your fault you didn't go to the SEC.
I mean, I don't know. Obviously, competition matters, to a point. But I agree with what you're saying. You can't say because they're, in a certain conference. I mean, that's the whole downfall of Case Keenum.
Right. Aren't we holding it against Case Keenum that he doesn't play anybody good?
Yeah. The whole year. I mean, he set all these records, but he's in Conference USA.
Right.
So it's kind of hard to say. It's like I understand that, but then with Robert Griffin and a couple other players, I'm like, well, that shouldn't really matter as much. It's kind of, I don't know. It's hard to say.
And I know, Neil, you want a kicker to be considered for the Heisman.
They should. Not
I mean, it's always the case that the kicker is the best athlete on the field. But we don't get as much exposure that we deserve.
I mean, if you think about it right now, if you look at, let's look at like the top 3 or the top 4 or 5 guys right now that's having a good year NFL-wise. Let's see what conference they came out of, in college.
Aaron Rodgers, Pac-10.
Pac-10,
Drew Brees,
Megatron's, ACC.
Drew Brees, yep. Megatron, ACC.
Let's just look at the rookies.
Greg Jennings, Western Michigan.
Cam Newton.
Cam Newton was an SEC guy.
Right. You're talking about just the rookies this year?
Look at the first and second
Andy
year
Dalton was TCU, Mountain West.
Right. Yeah.
What was Gabbett?
Gabbett was Missouri.
Big 12. Okay,
Big 12.
Yep. So you never know.
Yeah.
It's a pop.
Let me ask you this.
Nobody SEC
really think about what the big names of the SEC. It's not like it's so much better than anywhere else in the NFL.
Right.
It's weird because every year you hear like, oh, all these defensive players should be first rounders.
SEC, right.
And then the next year, a couple of them do well. You know, the Fairleys of the world.
It's the same reason why I could never figure out how all the great defensive ends from Florida State really weren't great
Oh
pros.
my gosh.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, you know what?
that happen?
This was the thing, was because at Florida State, I remember during those early years where just dominating, it was all about speed, where when they got over to the league, they didn't have enough weight on them. So when you get a guy like you, once you get those, what I used to call vice grips on that guy, he can't move.
Meat hooks.
You know, when it's time to get in the NFL, they want you to be, you know, a solid 270, you know, be able to play the run and rush the passer. Where at Florida State, it was just get upfield, get to the quarterback.
Well, yeah, like Peter
You know, and
Boulware,
they
like
couldn't
back
play the
in those
run.
days.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
And
I
he
used
was
to love
one of
Florida
the
State.
ones that held his own before injury.
They played in the Ravens, right?
Wadsworth.
Was he on the Ravens?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Peter
Andre
Boulware was on the
before
Ravens.
injury, Andre Wadsworth. Those were one of the two that kind of held their own.
Yeah.
But everybody after that,
Yeah, you're right, actually.
know.
Yeah, those
Cameron
are the two.
Wembley's turned into a pretty decent
yeah,
player.
Yeah.
yeah.
Is Darnell Dockett still playing?
Yeah.
Darnell's
Yeah,
tearing
he's in
it up in
Arizona.
Is he?
Arizona, yeah.
He's still in Arizona?
Oh, yeah.
And
He's
the
signed a-
It's
Chargers
not a big deal.
taking back control of the league.
He's on a big ticket out there
Did he?
last year. Oh, yeah. Got a
Vincent
big
Brown
deal.
with the
They let Kurt
touchdown
and
catch.
Anquan and Antro roll and Carlos Dansby and all those guys could go, and the only person they signed was Dockett.
Wow. Dansby was an ACC guy, wasn't he?
Auburn.
Or no? Auburn. I'm trying to think there's another guy.
Nice throw from Rivers here. Right on the money.
Nice push off Nate Burleson style right there that they didn't call.
Vincent Brown, the rookie, with a little shove.
What do you think about Nate? What happened with the Detroit game? Did you watch the Detroit, New Orleans?
Yeah, but I'm trying to think of that.
Nate Burleson
Oh,
had
God.
three off.
Yeah. I'm thinking,
Three
first of all,
offensive-
when I saw that,
Unbelievable.
as long as he's been in the league, everybody knows as a receiver, you do a little flip.
Yeah, you don't.
He was
you do
running
this.
routes extending like if he just forgot all the rules.
Yeah.
Because he had, what, 3 or 4 pass interference?
3, I think.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Titus Young had a couple more.
Right.
the
Everybody
rookie.
knows you can't extend that much.
Yeah, as
They're
soon
gonna
as you
get
see
called
the
every
hand, the
time.
hand goes out, yeah,
Right.
you're done.
That has to
Really
be one of the
can't extend?
harder calls to make because in real speed, it's hard to see
It is.
those little hand games you guys are playing out
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
And that's part of the battle, right? I mean, whether it's the cornerback or the receiver, you guys are jockeying for
Right.
position with your hands.
Well, I mean, I know as a receiver, I love to get like kind of, because I'll throw an elbow that'll make a separation where it won't get called.
On
but,
accident, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, just a little punch in the rib every now
Never
and
do
then.
that on purpose.
But
Who's the best? Who's the best at doing that in today's game? At separating from a defensive back with the little tricks of the trade.
wow.
I think every guy at Green Bay is really good at it.
Yeah, those guys get good
Seems like every
separation.
guy at Green Bay is good
Yeah,
at it.
those guys run great routes, but it's to each his own, because when you're watching the New Orleans and Detroit game, like I like Calvin Johnson just because he's so big and
Was
physical.
it separation, or
He
is he
plays
just so
strong.
much
He just
physically
outbuys
impressive?
everybody.
He's a
large
hero.
man.
Right.
Throw it up 11 feet and I'll go get it.
He's
out
like a
there.
tight, he looks like a tight end.
And to go back to what you were
He
talking
does.
about earlier about Jacksonville, is like the amount of respect that was showed to him in that New Orleans game. That's why they started coming back. They were putting 3 guys on him.
Yeah.
And then that's when they changed up the game plan, started hitting their receivers, and other receivers started
Did you see on the
making
goal
plays.
line? I was wondering.
Oh, yeah,
when
it
they
was
started
2
doing this.
people. You saw that?
The punt return.
Yeah.
It
was a
it
gunner.
looked
He was a
like
gunner.
he was a gunner, and they had two
guys,
corners, I
exactly.
think, were on him, a nickel guy and
And
a
so
I felt like there was only a
Other
matter of
guys.
time before someone did that.
Why
You
not?
go one-on-one.
I've never seen that before.
That's
That
awesome.
much respect
That's
was
smart
crazy.
for them.
But yeah, so Brandon
do.
Marshall's a hands-on guy. He likes to.
Oh, yeah, Marshall's
he
a
likes
big
to.
guy.
He's not going to run by you. So if he can get you in his reach, he's just going to try to out physical.
Your boy Quick, I think. Wait, what is his name?
Chick.
Chick.
Hmm.
He looks
Too
like he
bad.
suffered a knee injury.
He was
there.
here. He's an undrafted free agent here. My first year.
I remember that. I remember that.
John
Here on
Chick.
the Texans.
Remember him and
Yeah.
Jeff Charleston. He
I
plays
do.
for that. And then,
State.
I feel bad for
That's
him.
tough.
He was such a hardworking guy here.
Yeah.
He didn't catch on anywhere, didn't catch on any practice squads, went up to CFL and became, I think, was like the CFL Defensive Player of the Year a couple of years. Got on with the Colts last year, and then stayed on their practice squad last year, played a little bit, and then he's got a chance with Jacksonville, and he's played pretty well with Jacksonville. He's put up some numbers.
Javon, what happened here? Hey, you got to tell me as
They
a
were
receiver.
both not on the same page.
the receiver's out there blocking.
About the stalk block, right? And the way it was, it looked like what the receiver was doing. Like if he was being prepared for like a screen.
It's like a wide receiver screen.
Yeah,
and
a screen.
They just had to go down the field.
But yeah, that
was Jared Dillard, the
was that Jared Dillard?
former Rice guy.
Yeah. Smart guy.
He's hung around
I'm
the league
going to blame it on Gabbert. He's a Rice guy. Can't be wrong.
Yeah.
So, Javon, we were talking about receivers. I trained out of Fishers with Roddy White this offseason.
Oh, man.
How many balls did he drop against? Did you watch the game
against
this
Texans?
weekend?
Jonathan Joseph has to get some credit for that because he was on like
Roddy White caught
100
100 passes last year.
He had he got one just like Andre that was right there, 30 yards down the field.
He had a couple, yeah. The first series, I mean, there was 2 overthrows. That weren't drops, but then that set the tone for the rest of the game.
He was wide open down the middle.
I thought the Atlanta game plan was smart though. I thought that was smart. Yeah. Come out, try to hit a big play early, and get ahead.
Yeah, they went the out and up.
I would have done the same thing.
The first play,
why wouldn't you do that?
Up. I'm like,
why wouldn't you do that? Go run a couple plays to try to take
the crowd out of it, right?
Well, not so much take the crowd out of it, but hopefully you get to that point. Yeah. But even if you're up 7-0 against your first start quarterback,
right
now, especially on a team like us where we want to run the ball, we want to control the clock, puts us in a little bit of a bind. It puts hey, okay, now we got to score, we got to answer at some point. And I'm not saying we would have really changed our what we're going to do at all, but I understand what they're doing. I thought it was smart. They just obviously the execution didn't happen, thankfully for us.
You're right. I mean, the rookie
TJ to press a little bit.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. Rookie quarterback having the because it's a psychological deal. It really is.
No doubt.
For a rookie guy to be down 1 or 2 touchdowns, it's like, oh, I have to make this play, as opposed to just playing within himself.
Did you guys' game plan have to change?
Nothing phased him the entire week.
That's awesome.
Anything. He's
good for him. Because you hear it in the now I'm out of it now and I watch and I'm a huge fan of the Texans now and you hear like, oh, TJ is he's in practice, which is good because you guys get to see what we don't see on the outside. How poised he is in practice, how he throws the ball. So you hear like, oh, well, he's ready to play, but it's a rookie. You never know.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm personally like, wow, it's a rookie. This is not good. We've had bad luck. I mean, 2 in a row quarterbacks, but it was great to see what he did. I mean, I'm proud of him and I don't even know him, It was
I've always said,
what are we going to say, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. You're not going to say, oh, we're screwed, TJ's here, But, but I'm saying, it's good to see.
It'd be better to have that third guy come in than a guy that just doesn't know nothing at all. Because at least if he knows the plays, these guys can still do what they normally do. You know, just if you got to run it the whole time, but at least he knows the plays.
The big thing too is that this wasn't TJ at North Carolina ran an offense with a lot of the same verbiage too. Which for a quarterback's huge. I mean, it's like you don't have to learn that new language. You kind of learn half of it. You already know half of it. So that was big for him. And like I said earlier, he's been one of the guys. He doesn't feel like he's a rookie around there because everybody talks to him. And this isn't now. I mean, this was 3 or 4 weeks ago when he was still the third string quarterback. He was still, hey, what are you doing tonight? What's going on? It's like, it's the same old, same old.
I mean, what a great.
All the old Mary guys are hitting him up for stories. Hey, where'd you go last night?
What'd you do? What'd you do? We'll live through you.
Where you going?
Well, I mean, what a great situation though as well. I mean, you've got.
I've already volunteered to be his bodyguard. I mean, it's cool.
You've got Matt Schaub, you've got Matt Leinart, you've got Kellen Clemens, you have Jake Delhomme. You got how many years of experience does this guy get to soak up from guys that he's worked around? I mean,
if we could just understand what Jake's saying now.
Jake.
He talk with a thick Cajun
accent. That's Louisiana. Right there.
Also for him too, the best thing is his opportunity is coming so quick to where he's auditioning for other teams. Say for instance, none of those guys get hurt. You don't know about him, but Texans do. He's still on the roster for the next however many years, not being able to show what he can do.
Right.
Now, it comes a time to where he probably has, I'm not sure how long his deal is,
3
not
years,
being a high.
For a fifth-round draft pick?
People are going to see what he did during this run and be like, hey, we need to, he's going to get a nice payday from it. Because he showed something. Even if next year comes around when Matt comes back and, he put something on film.
Well, I want to see him be the next Kurt Warner.
Got him.
Exactly.
Get the rest of us a ring.
But you're right. Yeah.
If you're Jacksonville, that cannot happen.
Wow. Yeah.
If you're Jacksonville, that cannot happen. You can't have a turnover and then right off of that go deep and get burnt.
How big is Vincent Jackson?
He's big. He's big. He's a lot bigger than you think. He's 6'4", 6'5".
He's that tall.
He is big.
He's like 225,
you know what?
230.
When we played them last year and he was still on that stupid suspended list or whatever, he was out. He was traveling, and he was out there running before the game. I looked at him. I said,
he got like a long
6'5" might be pushing it, but he is 6'4", and he's thick too. I guarantee. What do you think? 230, 220?
Yeah, he's about 225.
He works.
I didn't know he was that
He
big.
works hard.
Wow.
He that's a guy that's he's gonna get a payday. His payday never came yet. You know,
Yeah.
they
It'll be
got
interesting to see
tagged.
what happens with him. You know
Right.
what? I could. This is just. I could see New England making a play for him.
Really?
Well, someone.
Why not?
Jackson?
Yeah, why not?
You gotta
A
go
number
for
one
San Diego
receiver on
or
the
New England,
market.
though.
They're willing to pay him,
you
$8,
wanna
$9
win.
million a year.
That's about it.
You add him in
about
there,
it.
that's a scary offense
You
at
know,
that
If I'd
point.
be
You got-
Phillip Rivers, I wouldn't want to
That's
let
what
him
I was
go.
Oh, I'm sure he doesn't.
Yeah.
But, and I think it's going to matter if AJ
Right.
Smith stays, if he doesn't
Oh, yeah.
stay, does there a new guy come in, and all that.
I grew up in Detroit, so I can tell you.
It's a well-thrown ball
Cincinnati
from
and
Phillip
Detroit.
Rivers. When you see throws like that,
Not that different.
he didn't look hurt.
Yeah.
Well, then you went to Buffalo.
Yeah, Buffalo. Yeah, that's bad. There's a lot of bad.
Did you live in a double wide, so you didn't have to buy a house?
No, an apartment. We're talking about Buffalo. Orchard Park, New York is a charming place if you like trailers.
We
No,
played.
but I enjoyed it, but it was not.
We played there the one year.
When you
and
say
there was
charming,
like,
Charming,
you mean
like
4 wheels.
Like well, basically you drive into the stadium. There's like one road, Abbott Road, that goes into the stadium. You guys have probably played in Buffalo, right?
yes.
One road,
Right
two
through a
lanes.
neighborhood, right?
Yeah, basically through neighborhoods. So you drive in, and all the fans are like jumping on your car because the players' parking is by the tunnel. So you're going through like, Murphy, like jumping on my hood. Like this is like it's like Thunderdome in there.
This is an Acura.
No
Get off of
rules.
it.
Yeah.
This is an Acura. Move away from the car, please.
You drive your backup car to
Get off the hood.
It's a Prius.
This is a new.
Socially conscious.
This is a 2004 Acura.
That's funny.
I drive a Suburban now.
We played
I
there
have
the
3
one
kids.
year, and
That's all I got.
I said there's.
You know what's causing
After
that,
the
right?
game, I said, why are there?
I know.
Okay.
I'm about to take care of that.
There were a bunch of RVs sticking around after the game, and I was like, what's going on in there? One of the guys told me that people don't buy houses; they buy
You're right.
RVs and live in them for the season.
Yep.
They just
What?
park them out in the
They
parking
do
lot.
in the parking lot.
Yeah, so they don't
They're
have to
there
buy
for the
real
whole
estate.
season.
Yeah. Like have their own little neighborhood of like 5 RVs.
It's kind of like West Virginia. There's trailers going in this.
Exactly like West Virginia. But you never played in West Virginia. You haven't gone to Morgantown.
If you haven't gotten a whiskey bottle thrown at you,
That's a little treat in life that you need to experience.
a battery, a golf ball, and a whiskey bottle.
If you've never seen a mattress set on fire,
You ever played in Wisconsin?
You haven't
You
lived
just leave there reeking of beer because they
boy.
serve alcohol and they pour it through the grate as you walk out.
Oh,
Everyone
boy.
just reek
awesome.
you reek of a college bar by the end of the
it'd
game.
be delicious.
Well, we go to the half with the Chargers out in front. We'll see if the Jags can come back in the second half. Eric, I believe you're needed in the Chicken Kitchen Lounge.
is that right?
So we'll
right.
excuse you for a few minutes. We've got Katie, the referee girl, coming to refill your beverages should you need it. Should you need some more lemonade or whatever your beverage of choice is. We have a Twitter question. You can send your Twitter questions to Eric or any of our guests at TheBusTV on Twitter. That's at TheBusTV. And a question from Big EZ for you, Javon. How come Mike Williams didn't make it in the NFL? Big, fast, and he asked lazy. This is
Mike Williams, who was with the Jacksonville.
I'm not sure which one they're talking about. I think they're talking about the one from
USC, Mike
USC.
Williams. Yeah.
Oh,
Former
well,
first-round pick out of USC that was there with the Leinart Bush.
right. Well, you know
teams.
what? He had
He's still around, right?
Yeah, he had a coming out party last year. You know, he was out the league for 2 years. I think at the time it was probably a little laziness, and then maybe somewhere along the lines during the 2 years he was out, he had an intervention, and he actually came back with Pete Carroll when Pete Carroll
Right,
got
in
the
Seattle,
job
right?
in Seattle, and you know, he had a decent year, but he had a decent year that got him paid. You know, they
That's
wound
where
up
he
giving him a new
lemonade, please.
contract in Seattle. So
take a
he's
soda.
still there right now. So you know, I'm happy to see him doing well after having a rough start.
You need a
Can I have
drink?
water, please?
You good?
Yeah, is that another situation where the right, right offense, right coaching, right system,
or,
might fit
or
him,
work
and-
ethic?
I think with him it was work ethic because he had his shots, but you know, Mike had a problem with weight. Like he was almost tight end size.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like he was like 270
You're right.
at one point. So his thing was he didn't have a drive that I guess other coaches wanted to see out of him, and then he was out. And you know, being that he was a USC guy, you know, Pete Carroll gave him a shot to come in, you know, prove himself during the off-season workouts, and he came back. And you know what? For how good he was at USC, that's what everybody saw of him with Seattle last year, and he wound up getting a new deal. So I think his thing was more of drive and having somebody push him to get going.
How much does that bug you when you see a guy that has the physical abilities to be a Pro Bowl type receiver, and he doesn't have the work ethic to get there?
You know what? To answer that question, you know, you always learn something new in this game, and I realized I'd rather have a guy on my team, if it was to happen, I'd rather have a guy on my team who maybe people think is a jerk. People think, you know, like all the names you want to call him, but when it's time to get on the field, you don't have to push him to get his job done.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I've been around guys where that's the hardest job ever, to try to just motivate another guy. Because you're always like, come on, man, let's go. Come on, come on. And then you get tired for doing that so much. And so that's when I realized, you know what? I take a jerk on my team any day, because he's going to go out there and he's going to fight for you and the rest of the teammates.
Yeah.
And, you know, that was one of the lessons I learned, you know, with this one individual player.
Right. I wanted to get to something. We've talked about this with Eric on shows in the past, but I wanted to ask you guys, especially with your years of experience in the NFL, what do you make of Tim Tebow in Denver? They're 6-1 since he took over, and they aren't pretty wins, but they're winning. What do you make of it?
I mean, I'll just say you got to love the guy. I mean, you know, being a Christian man myself, I appreciate someone that actually gives glory where it should be. That being said, I think he's not a very good quarterback at all. No.
Does it drive you crazy to see those
It
mechanics?
does drive me crazy, but it's good. I think he's a great football player, right?
Right.
I don't think he's a good quarterback. If you put a guy like Owen Daniels, a guy like not Joel Dreesen, James Casey.
James Casey.
Guys that
Could he
played
beat
quarterback.
Tim Tebow, you think?
Yes, I think they could. Both of them.
A running
they could
tight end,
throw the ball if you had to
basically.
and run as a tight end. I think if you put both in that situation, they could do it. I think it rubs people the wrong way, including me, which I never thought I was a purist at the quarterback position. I'm more of a purist than I thought I was, because when I see that, like, the way he throws the ball just drives me nuts.
He threw for 200 yards against the Vikings.
Last game was actually better than
The game plan
before.
was designed to take away his runs and to see if he really could throw it. And he threw for 200 yards.
He actually threw pretty well last game. It was better than, I forgot what game. It might have been the Jets game.
When they was
some
2
of the
for 8
throws
and
he
they
was
still
throwing.
won.
Oh my gosh, the ball was like this coming down. I mean, can you imagine catching a ball like that? You know, those are hard to catch.
Exactly.
The ducks.
Especially being left-handed.
Oh yeah, it's coming as a duck left-handed. You're like,
See, I think he's one of those guys. You gotta expect the unexpected, because even though he might have thrown for 200 yards, is that you're still worried about the run, and it's like you just don't know. You know, it's kind of hard to prepare for him.
Right.
You know, because it's so inconsistent, and you know, with his style, I just, you know, it's kind of like what we were talking about earlier with quarterbacks and, you know, guys given a chance just because where they got drafted. You know, I feel, you know, I just wish we could go back 10 years and get a lot of the quarterbacks who they said would have never been NFL quarterbacks by their style of play that he's bringing to the game now that Denver's letting him do.
yeah, you mentioned Tommy Frazier.
Yeah, Tommy
Remember
Frazier.
that?
Can you imagine? Yeah.
Charlie Ward.
Couch. Remember? Tim or Eric.
Eric Crouch.
Eric Crouch,
Both of them
right,
from Nebraska.
A running
you know?
quarterback would never work in the NFL.
Right.
No.
And now they're letting him get away with
Unless
it.
you're Randall
so.
Cunningham. Back in the day, that was it.
Is he more than a novelty quarterback, though? I mean, can this last?
He's winning. You know, I've always hated in my life. I've always hated the person that would rather look good and lose than look bad and win. And he proves that, hey, I'm going to go out and I'm going to get it done. It doesn't matter how. I don't care what I look like. I'm going to get it done and go home happy. And isn't that what we all want in this league?
Is he winning though?
Is it him?
I agree
mean,
he's not
let's give
losing
some credit
games
to
for
their
him.
defense.
They didn't win
And
before he was the quarterback.
I agree.
Right.
But
So-
what I will say, he's not losing games for him at all. He's taking care of the ball, which is what the best thing he's done for sure. I mean, he throws touchdowns. Yeah, he doesn't throw picks.
Right.
But if you look at the defense, like you said, since he's been playing, they've turned it on ridiculously. Like Elvis Dumerville, a guy that was
He's back.
injured,
He was
hasn't
gone for
played.
a year.
Yeah.
It seems like.
I mean, he wasn't doing anything, and all of a sudden he's playing great.
And they didn't have Von Miller against the Vikings.
And Von
their
Miller
defense gave up some points, but they still pulled it out.
Yeah, Von has
end.
played really well.
I will say, like, as far as right now, how he's winning and everything, and you could tell it's probably each week, you know, and you guys know we're not in the team locker room or anything, and I wonder how stressful it is on the coaches to try to get prepared for each and every week, knowing what they're dealing with. But then, as a general manager, seeing his style is like, how do you build a team around that? You know, like how do you go out and get a good receiver, but knowing that he's not going to be utilized?
Exactly. What receiver wants to play for?
Exactly. Yeah. How do you go out and get a good tight end?
Yeah.
How do you get out and get a good tight end if you won't be to utilize him based off of what, you know, because the quarterback makes everything function. And, you know, a quarterback, a franchise quarterback, that's when you can just build around him. But with him, you got to do what works for him. You can't do what really works for nobody else.
Your whole offense.
Your whole offense.
That's true, yeah.
So how do you build for the future?
I would think linemen would like that, but receivers wouldn't.
Linemen and running
love
backs.
to run the ball.
Like McGahee, you talked about it earlier. McGahee's
Right.
resurging right now. I mean, he looks like the old Willis.
Yeah.
But then it's like, how long will they last? Like,
Exactly.
you can't run the ball. What the last time, like 55 times?
Yeah.
Yeah, but as soon as the run gets stopped, then he dumps it over and throws for 200 yards. You know, that's the only reason he only threw for 200 yards, because they started clamping down on the run and he'd dump it over top.
You guys all were in a lot of different locker rooms in your years, and y'all are done with the game. Neil, you're still in it. Jake Plummer had some interesting comments about Tim Tebow.
Thank you.
Saying that it's not just that he's a self-professed Christian and he's, you know, always talking about his faith. There are a lot of guys that are men of faith in the NFL, but it's that he's always talking about it. Like Jake's implication was, hey, we know you're a good Christian, but you don't have to keep reminding us about it. Would that grate on you as a teammate if a guy is always trying to preach to you instead of, I mean, you know, I guess practicing his religion like everybody else?
I don't think he's preaching. I think he's just saying what he thinks, why he thinks he's successful. I don't think he's necessarily preaching to them saying, oh, you should do what I do. You know, I understand what you mean, because every time you see an interview, it's more of like, you know, thanks to God, but that's just what he believes. Right. You know, I believe the same thing. So even if I didn't, I don't think I'd say, well, he shouldn't be saying that because I don't believe it. You know, that's forcing your belief on him. Right. If you think of it that way. Right. I don't know. I just think people want a reason not to like him. You know, I think he's a great guy personally. And he's winning. You're right. I just don't think he's a good quarterback. So,
but
it has nothing to do with his faith.
In the locker room with a guy like that?
You know, I think there's a point where you don't want to. You know, I played with Kurt Warner, who obviously is a Christian. Right. He's the same guy, whether he's with his teammates, he's with his family, or he's in front of the camera. And that's how I judge. Right. Not that I'm there to judge, but that's how I measure a true man. Right. I mean, he's the same guy no matter what situation he's in. Yes, but he did it in a way that he didn't push his beliefs on anybody else. We knew where Kurt stood. Right. And certain music wasn't played in the locker room because of Kurt. Kurt, right. I mean, but the people respected him for that reason.
They didn't have any Luther Campbell going in the locker room with those Cardinals teams.
That was a great point. It depends on the respect you have for that person. You know, that you will do something different. Like, you know, I've been around, you've been around guys where I know I might do something around him, but if I'm by him, I'm not going to do it for the respect that I have for him. Yeah.
You know, even Kurt Warner, though, said, Tim, you need to tone it down a little bit.
Well, you know, and that's, you know, I played in Cincinnati. I'm not going to name names, but, you know, I missed a big field goal, and he came over and gave me a Bible after I missed it. Yeah. You know, I followed him back to his locker, and I handed it back to him. I said, I think he's got bigger fish to fry than whether the ball flies through the air.
You mean don't get me wrong. God's not rooting for Bengals?
You know? God doesn't care about the field goal.
There's a fine line. But what I liked that Tim Tebow said, and I thought this was great. Somebody sent it to me on Facebook page. He said, you don't just tell your wife once that you love her. So you tell her every day that you love your wife. So that's how I feel about God. I tell God I love him every day. And I said, you know what? Now I get it. You know,
that's actually,
I understand
that's pretty good, actually.
And which tells me he's a very wise man as well.
Why is he such a polarizing figure? There are a lot of people who either they say that they think he's fake, or that he's, you know, he doesn't need to be trying to ram this down our throats. Why did people?
Because he's too good to be true type. That's what it is. It's because he's such a good guy. They're thinking, oh, well, he can't really be like that because he's. Well, you know, football player stereotypes, first of all, which are ridiculous. We all know that. But you see movies like, what was that TV show, the fake football TV show, where they were doing drugs and all that stuff?
Playmakers.
Yeah, remember that? Yeah. So my wife was like, oh, is that what it's really like? And she's my wife.
And she didn't even know. During the halftime.
She didn't even know. So, you know, the average person has no idea. They think we all go out to clubs and do all this stuff. So they think, well, he can't be that way because he's in the same locker room as these other guys. So I think they want to kind of bring him down a peg almost.
Right.
You know, and
because of the 3% of us that make bad decisions
that are
career.
knuckleheads.
And the thing about it is he's in a professional where, like everybody said, the way he is, it's like you find those guys, they're altar boys.
Yeah.
You know, but here's an NFL guy like that, and the thing about it is, you know, whoever he decides, you know, he's gonna have a lot of shoes to, either shoes to fill, or they're gonna have to be, you know, because you know, in this world, whoever he decides to marry, you know, she can't possibly be affiliated with this football world.
Yeah.
You know, she's gonna have to be like a nun or something.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, wait a minute. That's
Well,
not going to work either.
Though, you know. Yeah, that's not going to work.
No comment. No comment on it.
Yeah,
Let's be honest. There's haters everywhere.
Yeah,
you know, no matter what you do good, there's going to be people trying to tear you down. No matter what.
Right.
No matter what your intention is, somebody's going to be flipping it around that your intentions were bad. And you know, he's going to run into that. He's going to be criticized for it. And you know, he's a man. He stands up. This is the way I'm going to do it. And you can either like it or, you know, don't.
Let's change gears here. Getting back to a little college football talk. They announced the bowl games and the BCS championship game. LSU and Alabama going at it again. Are you guys excited about seeing these two teams play? I'm not going to argue they aren't the best teams in college football, but it seems like we've already seen this game, right?
Two sides of the coin. First side is, how can Alabama lose to LSU and then get a chance to play them again? Other side of the coin is the strength of schedule, obviously the win-loss record. Even though they're the same division, they should be able to play. They're the two best teams in the country. I'm more on the side of I don't think that they should play.
Right.
Because if you can't even win your own division, if you're not even in the championship game, I know it's bad luck that they happen to be in the same division, same side, but I don't think you should be able to play twice the same team and play them again for that. I just don't think it's right. No. And I think if you went to a playoff system, which will never happen because the money's different, that would solve all that. You know, they would have been knocked out and, other things would have happened. But I think it should be Oklahoma State, LSU, but that's just my thought.
My thing is I don't have, the Alabama fans are just blaming their kicker. And I never liked that. And
he did miss 3 field goals?
It was a combined 2 different guys that missed.
Yeah, remember that?
Yes. But
they were all kickers.
It's just, I don't think you should ever blame it on the kicker. But yeah, I wanted to see Oklahoma State play.
Yeah.
LSU. I mean, I think
would they have had a chance against LSU though? I mean, isn't LSU?
Well, that's not the point. I think I don't think we all think they would have beat LSU.
Right.
I don't know about you.
I think Alabama has a chance.
I don't know about the kicker. He doesn't know anything about football.
I don't think that we thought Oklahoma State would just kill LSU or even have a chance. But I think they're a more dynamic team. They're explosive. They can score. Their defense is not very good at all, but at least they can score. Whereas Alabama and LSU is a defensive game.
Yeah, this is
so it was really boring.
Game. You got 1 and 2 defense.
Exactly. It's like it was boring. The first game was boring.
Was it boring? I mean,
I thought
it was a close game. It came down to the end, right?
Great, but it was still boring in the end.
9-6 is not exactly lighting it up.
I think we're all spoiled with the NFL scoring and how it works now, and everyone passes for, like we talked about earlier, 300-yard passing games is like nothing now.
Has it ever happened like where 1 and 2 are 1 and 2 ranked in defense? Like Alabama's ranked number 1 in defense?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's a good question.
That's a good question.
So you definitely is going to be a defensive game.
It seems like offense usually rules the.
Both of these teams, LSU's offense is probably a little bit better than Alabama, but their defense has just been keeping them.
They're incredible.
Yeah.
Florida State though, back in the day.
Back in the day.
That might have been.
Maybe so.
They were top 5 at least, both of them. But that's the only thing I can think of, those two.
And the other question on the other BCS bowls that I wanted to bring up here, Virginia Tech and Michigan both get BCS bowl games.
Mm-hmm.
They're ranked 11th and 13th in the country. Other smaller schools, or I guess less storied programs like Boise State, Kansas State, who are ranked in the top 10, end up getting left out of the BCS picture entirely. Is that fair? Just because Michigan brings a lot of fans, right?
I think it's all about the money.
All about the money. I don't think it's fair at all.
But is that right? I mean,
no.
I kind of feel like I'm going to be watching those BCS bowl games and watching worse games just because Michigan can bring more people to New Orleans.
You should be there.
The Chargers just added another touchdown.
They're running away with this.
Vincent Brown.
I don't really.
And it finally turned into the game we all thought it was going to be.
The blowout begins. Malcolm Floyd with that touchdown catch. When we talk about the BCS Bowl games, Eric,
I enjoy them.
The Michigans and Virginia Techs get chosen over, I think, more deserving teams just because they bring bigger crowds. I'd rather see a better game. I'd rather see Boise State in the Sugar Bowl against anybody as opposed to like a Virginia Tech or a Michigan.
Virginia Tech shouldn't be there, that's for sure. Why Virginia Tech's there, I can only imagine.
They travel well.
Listen, they travel well, but so do a lot of other colleges. Yep. Yeah, they travel just as well as some other colleges. The fact that VTech's there after getting smoked twice by Clemson is absolutely beyond me.
I mean, what are they getting? You know, they're getting hosed out of what, $15 million?
Yeah, it's 17, $18 million. Yeah.
It's amazing how much it's gone up since we were in college.
And how do how do the Boise States and the Kansas States of the world? They're not in the title game. They're not going to a BCS Bowl. I guess Boise State's been before because of the guarantee for the non-automatic qualifiers.
That Fiesta Bowl was amazing, by the way.
But, I mean, if you're not a big-time program, that means if it's an at-large berth, you're not getting picked.
No, I mean that's what
how do you recruit?
I don't like that at all. Yeah. If you play well enough to be there, you're right. I mean, they're looking at who travels well, how much money they're going to bring into our bowl. It's all about money, but it should be the rankings should matter, shouldn't it? I mean, why are you ranking
I would think
teams
so,
then? You know.
And then that'll start making guys coming up out of high school and everything want to go to the SEC because they know they'll have a chance for the bigger bowls.
Yeah,
you know, and the small schools will still be.
Yeah, I mean, SEC could have had 3 teams. If Georgia wins that SEC
there would have been 1, 2, 3.
There would have been crazy. 3 teams from the SEC in the BCS bowl games.
So they're going to have to do something about it.
How do they do it? I mean, do you fix it by going with the rankings instead of letting the bowls choose?
I would have said the rankings because that's fair, right? You play well enough to be ranked, you should be able to go.
You're right.
I think if these small schools get overlooked, I think all the other conferences will probably have to vote on a playoff system. Because to override the BCS, I mean,
there's no parity. There's not going to be any parity ever.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. The big schools, the big Texases,
that's not true. There's a ton of parity now. 20 years ago, where's Boise State?
Playing in the WAC and getting
they couldn't beat anybody. Look at where was TCU 15 years ago? Where was a lot of these teams? There's so much. Where's Houston? You know, well, they were good at some point, but you know what I mean. Like the teams outside, the teams outside those conferences. You're seeing to me, you're seeing a ton of trickle down. And if the NCAA goes through and takes away 5 more scholarships from football, you're going to see even more parity because there's 5 less guys that can go to Michigan. That's 5 less guys that can go, and they have to go to, you know, Northern Illinois. They have
Central
to go
Michigan,
to, you know, you have to go those, and those teams get propped up, and there's 5 more chances for those teams to be better. So. I mean, I think there's a lot of parity now just because you see some of these teams beating some of the big teams. And not just parity in the players, but parity in the coaching, too. You're seeing some of these guys get jobs at a young age that deserve it, but they're, you know, that never would have in the past. And, you know, because their offense, you know, look at Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly was the offensive coordinator at UNH 5 years ago, and no one had heard his name except if you lived in New Hampshire, Portsmouth, Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And that's the only place you knew who Chip Kelly was. But you knew he ran this dynamic offense that no one could figure out, and they were highly successful. Then the guy from Oregon says, hey, I want this guy as OC. He comes to Oregon, now all of a sudden he's a big deal. And then he all of a sudden now becomes head coach, and they've got him in 2 straight Rose Bowls or something like that. And he's doing all kinds of big things. So you're seeing, to me, you're seeing a parity in the sense that a lot of these schools wouldn't be where they are right now 20 years ago, 15 years ago.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
And
you're right.
I'm eager to see how, and here's the thing that I don't get is we're just scratching the surface, to me, of these controversies. Who's better, Alabama or Oklahoma State? You know, we're scratching this. We're going to get to another point in 3 or 4 years where there's going to be no undefeated teams. And if there
I agree.
And there's going to be a ton of 10-2 teams, 11-1 teams. And everyone's going to be saying to yourself, how do you figure it out now?
Well, that's the problem with the BCS right there. You're right. That's the problem with the BCS is they were expecting, well, we'll have these teams that are, you know, undefeated. Those 2 teams will play each other. Now it's like there's 1 undefeated team, LSU. You're right. I feel like in a couple of years it'll be everyone has 1 loss. Well, how do you determine it then?
Is it
schedule and
if you lost
that's
to
what
a
it's
better
going to
team?
be.
I mean,
it's going to be all computerized, and everyone's going to say, "Oh, well, the coaching, you know, coaches poll doesn't matter, and yeah, it's going to be rough. The computers should stay out of it.
Oh, the computers to me aren't even the worst part. You look at the coaches poll. That is an absolute travesty.
Oh yeah.
What's going on in the coaches poll?
Yeah.
That these coaches have a vote after the problem too in this system is there's no accountability. Yeah. That's the worst part.
Right.
Because
you can't lose your vote.
Yeah. To me, people should lose their vote. If you come out, remember one guy, I think there was one guy had like a.
Sorry to interrupt.
Had Houston number 5 still.
But a Jaguars lineman just caught a pass.
Whimper?
I know you dream of that day someday.
Footwork on that? Yeah,
he actually makes a guy miss.
I can only hope Rick Dennison is watching this right now.
Guy
Watch
Whimper.
him make a guy miss.
Former tight end. Why not? Whimper. That's a sweet name. By the way, that referee right there.
Oh
with the
no!
white hat,
Did they not report as an eligible receiver? Please,
tell me.
no.
Is he going to put his hands on his head?
No, don't.
Hands on his head? Oh,
okay, good.
No foul.
That referee right there.
Yeah, they were all confused. They weren't sure
I actually
about.
met him before. Yeah.
If it was opposed to
So when I go
Here's
to
the
Lifetime,
replay.
I work out with Hockey League.
Eric,
Oh, do you?
Yeah, he's freaking in there all
Look
the
at this.
time, man.
watch the move he puts on that defensive back.
Oh, sweet feet. Look at him. Look at old sweet.
Oh, Eric Weddle didn't want a piece of that.
That number 32.
Eric Weddle ought to be fine. That should be like a helmet to helmet.
He's
Yards
have a
after
hard
catch. See,
time
they were all
getting
scared to
that
tackle
locker
him.
room.
There's yak. Got that yak.
Eric,
Saw
you
that guy
got
went down
you got a
then they
lobby for that play.
And then they fumble the snap.
The worst part is that Whimper almost has as many reception careers as I do.
A lot of people,
Just gonna throw it out there.
a lot of people don't
I was a
realize
blocking
this,
tight end.
that Whimper had to come out of the game because you can't go from being eligible to ineligible.
He had to come in.
because
How's
So
it
they
go,
brought
Eric?
him out?
Eric, how's it go? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Number 73 is your
Yeah.
putting eligible.
How come when they bring in Newton? Is that
we
why
know
when they
where we're
bring in
not throwing
Newton,
the ball.
you guys bring in the jumbo package,
You ain't
that
kidding.
he gets to line up at the tight end spot? Because you ought to be able to.
Yeah, well, he reports eligible.
Yeah, why don't you report eligible? You have route running
He'd have to go out and come
experience.
back in.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
I couldn't be on the field goal.
You're right. Yeah.
We want him on the field.
What movie is that from?
Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, Coming to America.
Yes. Look at Blaine Gabbert. 13 of 17. Cool,
It is he. It is he.
What is that, velvet? It's beautiful.
It is he.
Rocky Marciano. He beat Joe Lewis's ass.
One of the greatest movies ever.
Yes.
And there's only 3 actors in the whole movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Arsenio Hall,
It's just Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall having fun.
Yeah.
Give it up for Randy.
I believe the children. Sexual chocolate.
Sexual chocolate. Then he drops the mic and walks. That's the best part when he drops the mic and just walks out. Sexual chocolate. He's like, and he walks out. Great movie.
Can a Monday night game be blacked out? Because
It should be.
It looks like this.
They
game
actually
is blacked
sold this
out.
one out, I think.
Well, guess
bought a
how
lot
they
of
did
extra
it.
tickets.
There we go. They gave
The only
how many
games
to the
they
troops?
sold out were their primetime games, and I think is it?
I think they sold our game.
There was another game.
Yeah, walk-ins, free
They
walk-ins.
gave like 6,000.
That's
Yeah.
funny that you
Yeah.
say that. There were probably
His
20.
name Khan.
Look at this.
What would you say?
That's in the
20 to
end zone. That was in
25,000
the end
military
zone.
there when we played. Eric?
Touchback.
Yeah, there's a
Did
lot.
they keep it? Oh,
That was touchback.
was somebody on the
The
line.
ball hit the line.
Oh,
There's 25,000 military there when we were there. That's
Oh
how
my
they
gosh.
got it.
Good for the
Not
military,
that
though.
I mean,
They-
no,
they
it was
deserve
cool.
a lot.
They had 2 flyovers. They swore in some soldiers at halftime and then did another flyover.
had another flyover?
Seriously, it was
Are you
awesome.
serious?
Yeah, it was cool.
They had another
There were
fight?
76,000.
They had like 5
military.
of them with the smoke coming out of them rolling around
Really?
the stadium. It's pretty cool.
I got a question for you from yesterday's game.
I'm warming up at halftime.
Was it Matt Bryant? Matt Bryant's the Falcons kicker, right?
Yes.
During the pregame introductions, you guys, they're introducing the Texans and they've got something going on in the field. He's kicking over the whole ceremony. I mean, isn't that like a breach of etiquette?
You should have tackled him. I would have liked to see that.
If it's
America rules.
if it's some sort of patriotism, I try to stay off the field.
Right.
But
if it's just
if the high school bands are out there, I'll kind of make my way into the middle, and kind of get rolling.
Yeah.
Like in Jacksonville, when they swore in the new recruits, I think I had about a minute and a half to warm up before kickoff, and I wasn't going to step on that field. You know, there's just certain things you don't do.
Right.
So.
I missed like a whole halftime extravaganza in Jacksonville, huh?
Yeah, you were drinking
did,
Gatorade,
sir.
and you know, you actually sweated the first half. Though.
Eating cut oranges and whatever you football guys do. Drinking gels and Gatorades. Gator lights. Power bars.
Did you used to drink gels?
There was a
What are gels?
The Gatorade, that gel stuff they have.
Oh.
Prime?
Yeah, the gel thing.
Why gel instead of just the drink?
I know, it's disgusting. I didn't like it.
Eric was over with Cushing drinking 8 red lines. Right.
Yeah.
He's ready to roll.
You see me out there.
Yeah.
The picture of intensity.
Intensity. And
Are you kidding me? It's Rams Seahawks next week?
Next Monday night, right here.
Who picks?
Let's wrap it up, boys.
Who picks these games?
Boys, let's wrap this up. We'll move it to Sunday night or something. It's getting ugly around here.
We do have a
Who
couple of
picks
good
these
games the next 2 weeks.
ESPN.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think
what
they
did
get
they
the
think
last choice
before
of the games.
I thought the Rams
before
were
the
gonna be
season
good.
started? So I'm wondering.
Yeah.
How could you ever think those two teams?
I could understand Rams Seahawks because you could play it up as a battle for NFC West. Who's going to win the NFC West? They were the two teams that were
The two worst teams.
kind of consensus.
That was a huge rivalry when I was there.
You got to remember
It's a
that was the
great game.
Week 17 flex game last year on NBC.
Rams and Seahawks?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
'Cause that was
because they
the
were
winner.
competing to
The
see
winner
who
was
was
gonna
going to
win.
go at 7
Right.
and 9. in the
Exactly.
playoffs.
7 and 9 or 8 and 8 or 7 and.
Who will
No, they
take
were
the
both-
Cardinals?
They were both 7 and 9 because the Seahawks won head
And then
to
they
head.
beat
won.
the Saints.
Then they beat the
which
Saints.
was ridiculous. I couldn't believe that.
But the Monday night schedule this year
But
has
that was
been
one of the greatest runs in
absolutely
football
brutal.
history.
Oh,
was last
you ain't
Monday?
kidding.
Was
the Saints.
Saints and Lions.
Yeah.
And you thought that was going to be
Buffalo,
decent.
man, that
Not
dude.
Saints and Lions, Saints and Giants. You thought that was going to be decent.
He's actually a
Didn't
great
turn out
guy.
to be decent.
No, not
Even the games that you
was
thought
like
were
the
going to be
year.
good really haven't
He
been.
is a really
It's
good guy.
been-
I mean,
There's been a
fun-
few good
team.
games in there, but the matchups that they were looking for, I mean, ESPN has to be pissed.
Oh, yeah.
Their
Their ratings have got to.
so mad.
They have to demand better games. You can't flex it, right? Because
that's the
teams are
problem. You can't
scheduled-
flex a Monday.
Yeah, logistically.
you
it
can't
just
move a
wouldn't work.
Sunday game to a Monday.
Right.
But
What if you could flex the Sunday night game to Monday? That's a little better.
but the,
What about 2 Monday
I mean, it's
night
better.
games?
I know it doesn't make sense, but
No, you
it's
just couldn't.
better.
I'm all for 2
What
Monday
about
night
2
games.
Monday night games? Just
Then
flip one
hopefully
of
you
the-
get one good one.
Flip the good Sunday game to another Monday night game.
Like
Well, they're
next
get-
Sunday's game's gonna
oh.
be pretty good because that's
They wouldn't
gonna
do
be
that because ESPN, because ESPN, you wouldn't pay as much. NFL won't. The whole thing is ESPN's got Monday night to themselves.
true, yeah.
They're the only show in town.
We'll put it on ESPN too.
They have another channel, right?
ESPN 8.
Put them on.
Ocho.
Well, couldn't you have an East Coast
ESPN,
game and a
yes,
West
yes.
Coast game?
I knew
That's
that,
a bold
that
strategy,
would,
Cotton. See how it works
If you
out.
could just take a game and switch it, I know players would hate that. The last thing you want to do is give a coach more time.
An extra day.
Oh, an extra day.
And then the
guys,
next
we're in
week is
practice
short.
tomorrow.
You're right. The Monday is the worst.
What? That's the you'd be like,
We can have 7 walkthroughs in the hotel in shorts
we
and,
move to
and
tomorrow.
socks.
Give a coach more time.
Just from a pure
God.
just from a pure schedule, not taking in the factors of playing in prime time or anything, how cool that is or anything. Our schedule this year is awesome.
Yeah.
13 in games and 3 4 o'clock games.
It's pretty good.
Let's wrap it up, boys.
Thursday.
I'm
How do you feel
at
about
the house by
Thursday?
4:30.
How do you feel about the Thursday games, though?
I used to love being
One
on the
Thursday. I love Thursday games.
The Thursday game
Get
this
'em-
year
get 'em-
is
yeah.
Love one.
They're
we're
quick.
one of 2 teams that doesn't play on Christmas this year. It's the greatest thing
That
ever.
is huge.
Yeah.
I used to love it because you played on Sunday and then you played on Thursday. I didn't look at it like 2 back-to-back. I look at it you actually more rest.
You get some mini
And then
bye
Thursday
week.
night
Right.
you get
It's like
another-
'cause you're not practicing as much. You play on Sunday.
Yeah, you just gotta
come
tough
in,
through it.
It's like, okay, and then play again. You get to knock 2 games out quick.
That's true.
All right, as we get ready for the Chargers to get the ball back here, time for another one-on-one segment. Our own Eric Winston going one-on-one with former Packers, Broncos, and Raiders receiver Javon Walker.
My name is Javon Walker, and most of you know me as a professional football player from the Green Bay Packers, Denver Broncos, and now the Oakland Raiders. I have been drafted to play professional baseball. I played it for 3 years and obviously pursued my happiness in football. being a professional athlete is not all that it seems to be. There's a lot of scrutiny, there's a lot of politics, and there's also a lot of trouble that can come behind it. I've been robbed, I've been shot at, I've been kidnapped, and I've also been left for dead. Most people don't know who the real Javon Walker is, but now I'm here to tell you.
Javon Walker is a son.
Javon Walker is a friend.
I'm Jonathan Holland of the Oakland Raiders, and Javon Walker is a teammate.
Expect fireworks. Get to know the man behind the uniform, the man behind the tragedies, the man behind the fame and fortune, and find out who is Javon Walker.
Javon Walker, thanks so much for being here. Thanks for going one-on-one.
Thanks for having me.
Now, so you were born in Galveston, right? But you pretty much grew up in southern Louisiana, right?
Yeah. My mom was living in Houston, and when she was pregnant with me, wound up being born out here, and then moved down to Lafayette, Louisiana.
Now, football's pretty big in southern Louisiana, well, all over Louisiana. I mean, people always talk about Texas football, Texas high school football, but you know, high school football in Louisiana is a big deal too, right?
Yeah, it's year round. You know, most people that are in other states or might meet friends in college who might have come from up north. They don't realize how big it is. You know, in the South, we had a spring game in May, we had passing camps over the summer, and then August, you're getting started again. So it was year round all the time.
Now, how did that work out with your baseball career? A lot of people don't realize you're a big time baseball player, drafted in the 8th round, I think, right?
Right.
And, I mean, when I was growing up in Midland, I played a lot of sports, played basketball, played baseball, and after football season, as long as you were doing the weights and doing like that off-season program, they left you alone.
Right.
But was that kind of the same thing for you? I mean, was it okay? I mean, did they support you playing other?
They were
playing other sports.
Yeah, they were pretty lenient with it, and it was funny because in some ways I kind of took advantage because when I knew they were going through spring training, I was still being baseball, so I would just push it back a little bit, saying I'm gonna report right when all the tough stuff's over with to be ready to go for the first regular season game in college.
So you took the long route coming out of high school. A lot of great players. Jeremy Shockey comes to mind just right off the top, but you went the JC route.
Right.
Now, did you go? Was it a grades thing, or was it more of no one really saw me, and I wanted to go somewhere where I can really show what I got?
What happened was when I went baseball out of high school, the schools that were recruiting me, Alabama, LSU, Florida State, I took a year off from football. So when I decided to go back to football, I contacted these schools, and and for them, they didn't really know what I still had because it was a year off, so they wasn't going to waste a scholarship on a person that might have lost a step or two. So they told me if I go to a JC, prove myself, I could go back, and needless to say, I did my thing in JC and then wound up going.
Now at JC, had a pretty good receiving score, huh?
Oh wow, yeah, the Deion Branch. Yeah, we actually, the year we were there, we won the whole thing. We were wire to wire, went 12-0 and won the national championship, and he wound up going on to Louisville, and I went to Florida State, and then he's a Patriot, still a Patriot, wow. And I wound up going to Green Bay and the other teams after that.
Nice. So after junior college, you go to Florida State. What was that like? What was Bobby Bowden like? I guess you hear so many stories of how such of a grandfather figure he is to so many guys. What was your, relationship with him?
I love Coach Bowden. Coach Bowden was a very, very wise man. He pretty much all his coaching staff would take over the day-to-day needs of getting us prepared to play a game, which he was a head coach doing what a head coach's job in college. He would oversee making sure everybody's doing what he planned for that week. And but other than that, you just liked hearing him speak. He would always have like a life lesson that happened or that he went through or somebody went through if you were always having problems. So I had a great time with Coach Bowden.
You guys were pretty good at Florida State too. That was still a lot of the glory years, right?
Yeah. We actually went to 2 national championships, and they went to the previous one. I wasn't there yet, but 3 back-to-back. It was kind of what you see a lot of the dominant schools doing right now. We did, early on in the 90s.
And you guys must have done really good against Miami, though, right?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that was one team. That's one team I don't have a victory against. And it's kind of like now. You remember the year?
Sure.
And then we wound up going to the Orange Bowl
Absolutely.
and losing to Oklahoma, where it could have been you guys.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
At least we know the system's still the
Florida
same.
State, first-round pick at Green Bay. Green Bay's a pretty special place, right? I mean, it's different. It's so much different than any other NFL city in America.
Yeah, it's different. A lot of tradition. You can pretty much say the history of what goes on in the NFL today was, started up by Lombardi. Everybody knows, about him. Green Bay won championships before it was called Super Bowls. Way before that, winning his franchise as far as Super Bowls, if we would count them as Super Bowls and championships, and a lot of history there.
2 years in, you end up, or 3 years in, have your best career or best season of your career, end up going to a Pro Bowl. Well, I mean, I'm still chasing that first one.
Right.
What was that feeling like when you got that call? You knew, gosh, I'm going to the Pro Bowl. It's amazing.
It was exciting because here you are in a profession where you get a lot of great players, and to sit back and say you're put in the category of being one of the best at your position. It's actually an honor to yourself, because that lets you know you did what it took that year to put yourself, and other players and coaches recognize that. So, sometimes people look at it as, you were just good that year, but you did the things you needed to do to, have that success.
What was it like playing with Brett Favre? A lot of people, you hear so many stories now about him. He's portrayed in such a negative light, but people forget that negative light just started recently. Like, he was a hero for everybody. Up until the last 3 or 4 years. What was he like playing with?
Brett was a great guy. Everybody's had their issues with Brett, but it's always a forgive and forget.
Sure.
He was a guy that always kept you comfortable, and I think with everything that happened towards the end, it's mostly because we know it as a job, but most people look at it as loyalty with him going to Minnesota at the end, but before that to the Jets, because they feel like him and his legacy should have just stayed in Green Bay. But for him, he wanted to continue to play, and he played, however many years after he left Green Bay. So
now, how many fingers did he break? Yours?
I still have one broken one right here. Still the pinky.
That's
that's the mark he left me with.
That's the one thing you can say of every receiver that's played there.
Right.
How many fingers did he break?
Yeah,
I broke three of my fingers.
Yeah. And the thing about it,
threw the ball so hard.
Right, hard, and you can't, and it's cold.
Sure,
so it's like a brick coming towards you, and that's one thing you can say about him. He had one of the strongest arms I've ever been.
Now then, next year you tear your ACL after some contract stuff. Kind of end up forcing your way out into Denver. Would you still do the things the same way? I mean, looking back on it, it's such a hard. People don't realize how hard to me it is, and I'm just talking to people, and people don't understand the what we're allowed and not allowed to do, and our rights and everything like that. And it's so tough, at the end of the day, to decide, hey, you know what, I need to go somewhere else. I need to do that. I mean, is it something you look back on and say, I wish I would have done this differently, or is it something that you said, hey, at the time, I still think I made the right decision?
At the time, I still would have done the same thing, but I would have went about it in a different way.
Sure.
And what a lot of people don't understand, it looks like at the time it was coming from me, but majority of the time you're just listening to the support staff that's around you. Being older, being a little bit wiser, seeing how everything works in the league right now, more decision making on my own, I would have done it a different way, but I still would have pursued the same path, but I'd have probably done it different.
5 years from now, or actually, what are you doing right now? I mean, what is?
Well, you know what?
Obviously, you're out of the league right now. I don't know if you're still trying to pursue that or what, but what's kind of what are you into right now?
Well, unfortunately, with the lockout being the way it was this year, we're still training, still with guys who are out there, free agencies like myself, and along with other guys. I'm gonna give it one more run next year, but the lockout didn't do me any favors with, a lot of young guys, teams and stuff we're trying to look at. But I'm gonna give it one more run when the spring comes around, see how it works out. If it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, I'm just gonna move on to something else. See what the future holds and go from there.
What do you think you want to do? What do you got planned? What do you see yourself doing 5 years from now?
You know what? It's very, very funny because there's some opportunities out there. Obviously I'm sort of
you have a passion for something?
Well, if there's something that I would really want to do, I would be in front of a camera. But other than that, I'm kind of like a self-entrepreneur, just kind of looking, doing more what, went to college for business-wise.
Javon, Appreciate you being here, man.
Thank you.
Look at that speed, Javon Walker going for the touchdown there. That was that in a Gary Kubiak offense?
No, I wish. Right when I went to Denver, Gary came here,
okay.
And then I just seen all the catches Andre Johnson had after that.
It could have been you.
You know, and it was funny because when that was like, it was part of a trade, and I was excited just knowing what he's done with receivers and, you know, Rod Smith at the time, and then right when I got there, he left, and Andre Johnson's just had so many catches and so many yards.
Well, you had a pretty good season or two in Denver, in addition to Green Bay, certainly.
Yeah. Not too bad.
Yeah, this game is rapidly, well, I guess Jacksonville's going to get the ball back with a chance to put some more points on the board, but I don't see them catching up to the Chargers here. I wanted to ask you guys a question we had off the Twitter feed, and it's @TheBusTV on Twitter if you want to send us your questions for Eric, for Matt, for Javon, or for Neil. It's a question about what happened in the Cowboys-Cardinals game yesterday with Jason Garrett. What happened with Jason Garrett icing his own kicker? What was up with that?
You know, that was a unique situation. You know, from what I understand, the play clock and was running down, and obviously you don't want to go from a 49 to a 54-yard field goal. And you know, he called the timeout. What's that?
Is that hard?
Is it hard to block Sean Rogers? You know,
John Abraham, yes. Sean Rogers, I don't know.
Whatever. But yeah,
the Cowboys had timeouts though.
They did have timeouts. I was kind of shocked they didn't try to get a few more yards for him.
They did a wide angle. I was just happened to be. We actually had a little bit of a day off today, and at the house watching a little ESPN, and they were talking about it, and they showed a wide angle view of the sidelines, and the special teams coach actually told Garrett to call a timeout. Garrett was going to let it run and see if they're going to get it. Special teams coach and the kicker, they have a kicking coach too, Boniel. Remember the old
Chris Boniel?
Chris Boniel?
Yeah,
oh my God.
He's their kicking coach, yeah.
Wow. And they both were like, hey, we need to call timeout here, we need to call timeout. And timeout just didn't get called. They were thinking they were going to call it before the snap was even. Then all of a sudden the snap goes off fast.
Oh. Right.
He laces it down the middle.
Was it a thing on getting the kicking team on the field? Could you tell?
I don't think he wanted his guy to be rushed. I mean, you've got a rookie kicker who's had a great year, but I guess he missed one yesterday and then banked one in off the upright yesterday. So he might have thought, let's get him composed, and everyone's going to rip Coach Garrett for it, hindsight. But if he misses the first one and makes the second one, well, then he's a genius.
Now,
so it's
be honest. If you're a head coach of a team,
that'll never happen. But go ahead. All right.
Let's just say in some fantasy world that you're in.
Bizarro world.
Okay.
CFL.
What bizarre world?
They'll be drafted kickers.
Would you ever have rookie kickers? Rookie kickers or punters?
Everyone has to start someplace.
Yeah.
But
just knowing what you know. It just seems like it's such one of those positions that it's like even more than like tackle, sometimes I feel like you have to have. You want like a vet there. You want someone that's done it before.
Right.
You know.
You know, that's true.
I understand you have to start somewhere. You can't just always just say, "Oh, we're going to pay a kicker," but
there's
the area of
I'm
free
with
agency
you.
and salary cap and everything.
But you were a rookie once.
I was a rookie, and it did not go well. I'll just be honest with you. Like I say, I'm eternally grateful to the Brown family for sticking with me for 3 years, because they could have fired me any week of those 3 years. But it's a. As far as a rookie kicker goes, we have to start someplace. And some rookies come in and do great. Nick Folk was with Dallas and went to the Pro Bowl his rookie year, and it's been downhill ever since. So it's it's hit and miss. You're going to have great years as a kicker, and you're going to have rough years as a kicker. That's part of it.
Do whenever they say you ice the kicker, does that really play with you mentally? Like for me, I would look at it as like if I had a chance to shoot 2 threes,
Right.
and I shot the first one and missed. I'm like, ooh, I'm glad he called that timeout, because I feel like I'd be ready to go. Like, does that really?
I like to get iced, to be honest with you. Even when you don't get to kick the ball, I mean, it's a chance to get on the field, visualize what you're doing, and go do your job.
Do you try to kick it just to see what you need to do for the second one or for the second go around, just in case?
I mean, when you've kicked 15,000 balls in your life, you don't.
Right.
If you got to figure it out before you kick that one, then you need to do something else.
Why is it that NFL coaches? I mean, this essentially became a clock management issue. Why is it that NFL coaches and all their assistants, we see so often them having trouble managing the clock at the end of a half or at the end of a game?
I think because they're trying to do a lot. I think you see so many head coaches calling plays, defense, offense, trying to do a lot that you can't do everything.
I mean, they had timeouts. I mean,
that was
the play. Just call timeout right at the beginning. It wasn't even the
ice part. It was when they hit the big pass down the middle. There's 25 seconds left, because I remember I was watching at the house, and they had 2 timeouts. So call timeout.
Call timeout. You can run another play even.
Call timeout. Call timeout.
Call timeout.
And then he goes down and he's still trying to spike it.
Yeah. You only have time for 2 more plays anyways. Right.
So you have 2 timeouts. You might as well use one. You can't take them home with you.
It's not like it's just one.
Yeah.
It's not AT&T minutes.
Aren't there coaches in the head coach's ear telling him, "Hey, call time"? I mean, aren't they doing the same thing you're doing at home?
You would think, but some coaches,
they got a lot on their plate.
coaches don't want the players doing anything.
Well, I mean, Tony Romo.
The quarterback usually gets to decide, especially in 2 minutes. They're 2 minute, but I try not to not make my hands into a T.
I was going to say you don't call that right.
I try to stay away from that, even though I'm very tempted to sometimes.
It's just proof that the coaches have a hard time handling the pressure situation, but when the kicker screws it up in the pressure situation, he gets fired. So
fire the coaches.
I will honestly say, obviously during the course of the game where they feel like the players should be the nervous, it's always the coaches to me. They're all you're in that huddle. It's like, okay, relax. You're the ones that got to go do it. Why are you so nervous?
Right.
You just got to call it, and we got to go execute it. But it's
lack
always
of control.
Think
about it. They can't control what you do.
They start panicking. They start freaking out. I remember one time, coach didn't know what to call. Ran a play 3 times in a row.
The same play?
Yeah, just run this one again.
Run it again.
We had it again. Just run it again. What?
I heard about that.
Just run it 3 times in a row.
Keep running the same play.
Joe Pedri. We had an offensive coordinator here in Houston who didn't know our own plays.
What?
I swear to you, we would hear on David Carr's headset.
David Carr's headset had to be the loudest headset.
It was loud as crap.
It had even when I got here, you could hear him getting yelled at through his headset.
Oh, it's like, Jesus. You hear Dave, just call the same run you did. We're like, we hear it, we're like, seriously? It's like a TV timeout. We're like, did he just say that? He would call plays we didn't even have. It was interesting.
My favorite is when you miss a kick and you got a special teams coach screaming at you to relax. You're helping.
What are you thinking? Exactly. Come on,
you're helping right now.
Easier said than done.
With all due respect to your special teams coach, and he's been around the league for a long time.
I wasn't referring to this special teams coach.
Well, not to yours.
Yeah, Joe never
but
yells,
a special teams coach.
Joe is the most calm person that I know.
Joe is just he's like a sea
in tight
of calm.
situations.
What do
Joe doesn't turn red at all.
No.
Right, when he yells.
He's just not screaming at everybody in tense situations.
What do the coaches really know about kicking? I mean, you don't.
Looks like.
Have you ever had a kicking coach like the Cowboys have?
I have not.
I mean, what do these assistant coaches know to tell you? I thought your hips opened a little too soon on that kick there, Neil.
Hey, Neil, why don't you put the ball in the hole? All right, why don't you do that? Okay. You know, but no, I've had a few. You know, I've had 8 special teams coaches in 12 years of football.
Wow.
7 head coaches. So I've had a few different philosophies, but I've had a few that were more kicking and punting gurus than they were necessarily coverage and.
Is the game over?
So
is it because it doesn't look like anybody's there.
You know, I've learned a lot. Learned a lot from those
the game
coaches that have stuck with me through the years.
Yeah,
looks like it.
Did we miss the end of the game?
They're showing it from so high up to make it as you
Who's
can't.
there?
Well, there's
17 people there.
If they'll just hold still, we can count them all. Tell that guy in section 101 to sit down.
Somebody freeze this. Freeze this picture.
The thing is, does the guy up top not realize that he can walk down right next to the field right now?
There. You can go 50-yard line, baby.
It's got to be rough to be a Jaguars fan.
You can impress your date at a Jaguar game, though. Look, baby.
Look at the seats we got.
Look, I got you.
That's not what it says on the ticket. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that.
Don't worry about that.
We're right next to the
simple thing. Girl, look what I got you. These were $200. Oh, it says 50. Oh, don't worry.
That's the worst when you go play a team that gets no fans.
But you played in Oakland.
It's tough playing Jacksonville.
Yeah, with no fans. Exactly.
It's tough playing in Jacksonville.
But wouldn't you like
no
that?
Fans.
Being on the road in a quiet stadium?
You know what ends up happening is the style of play they play too. It's such a boring kind of grind them out game that you get in these lulls and then you don't realize you're only up 4 points at some point. You feel like, oh, we're killing them, and then you look up at this and it's like 10-6. You're like, really? That's all it is? Yeah. You're in the middle of the third quarter, and all of a sudden they make a play, and then you're like, oh, man, we better do something.
Oh, God.
Javon, do you have trouble getting up for those games, or what do you say?
Something like I do it. I did it because,
I think it's just hard sustaining.
Yeah, you play for the crowd. You need somebody, and it's just like dead. It's like, oh, my God.
Well, the away team would fill the stands, but they would fear for their lives in the parking lot in Oakland.
Yes, in Oakland, Oakland was we used to love when a good team would come in because they basically came out to watch the other team. So.
Really?
Yeah.
So they wouldn't be.
No, it wouldn't be. It wouldn't be for Oakland.
There?
No.
Remember when y'all would come to Arizona at Sun Devil? It was all black.
Yeah.
So there's so many Oakland
Raider
fans.
Nation.
The only thing I remember my first 7 years in Green Bay.
No, all black jerseys, man.
There you go, playing the race card.
Green Bay was the best.
Hey, don't worry. I got you. I got you.
They're bringing fans.
You're all set.
Green Bay would sell out for like a scrimmage.
Green Bay, they pass those down in their will, those season tickets, don't they?
Yeah. To the grandkids.
Yeah, what is there in Green Bay?
Nothing.
Football and cheese?
I heard there's a steakhouse somewhere.
Yeah.
One steakhouse.
Yeah, I did hear there's a steakhouse
It's
somewhere.
like a steakhouse.
Texas Roadhouse.
Yeah, it is.
Oh my gosh.
Smoky
it's
Bones.
a chain.
Smoky Bones.
Maurice Jones-Drew. Staying inbound so he can keep that clock running.
Well, bowling ball.
They're down 17. They're down 17, but I like how they're still getting his stats up.
He'll still have 100 yards.
Yeah.
You know what? It's funny to watch the camera work too. When it's not a full stadium, they'll show like 2 people, just those 2, close as can be.
Right, yeah.
Make it look like, oh, it's crowded.
Good handoff,
They'll
Blaine
give you
Gabbert.
good angles.
Attaboy.
Sick forward pass on that handoff.
They told everybody
MVD.
to move on down.
It's like a 5'6" bowling ball. Isn't Look at that. How about LaShawn McCoy?
He's second in the NFL? Who's first?
LaShawn McCoy has the worst ball security ever, and he doesn't
hangs
fumble.
it out there, doesn't he?
How does he not fumble? How do they not? I mean, you see players
He has strong wrists.
like Arian Foster, who is pretty good holding the ball, and he fumbles twice because they're going for it. How does LaShawn McCoy run like this, and no one ever says, hey?
Yeah. That was Adrian Peterson's problem.
You know what my theory is?
I know he's fast,
he used to run like
but
this.
Guys have trouble catching him from behind.
That's what I'm saying.
Fast.
I know he's fast, but Arian's fast too. I mean, I don't know.
You'd be fast too.
They don't ask me to carry the ball all that often.
Sure, but you were high and tight on that little shot with soda.
Yeah,
Sure
was.
was.
Like a loaf of bread.
Pure.
1 point straight up.
He had
in
the old
air.
tiki barber, like the old school high and tight.
Yeah.
Question off the Twitter feed at the Bus TV: is the Brett Favre Steakhouse in Green Bay, the one across from the stadium, I guess, still named after Favre?
What?
Or did they rename it after Aaron Rodgers?
That's for you.
Aaron Rodgers didn't invest any money into that, so it's still Favre.
I got a feeling Brett Favre didn't either.
Yeah.
What do the pictures
Favre
look like in
Steakhouse.
that restaurant?
What kind of steak is this place serving?
What'd you say?
So what
What
do
kind
the
of pictures
look
look like?
Steak or I'm just saying.
It is awesome.
Man.
I'm just saying. I had to do that. It was there. Oh God. Who was number 24?
It's funny because those fans up there, like, literally, you might be in a city where, there's other stuff going on, where, people pay attention to the sport, but, anything that goes on, they care less. Their live you is like, if you screw them, it's like you're banned for life.
The worst.
The worst. The worst there. It's kind of like, here you got Favre, all-time everything, and they literally look like he's did nothing.
They don't even want to talk about him.
Right, like he didn't do
Someday,
nothing for
though,
Green
he'll
Bay.
be welcome back
Well, yeah.
there, right?
But it just shows you.
Oh, my
like,
gosh.
That just happened?
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Is that Nick Harris?
Yes.
Oh, he recovered it.
Oh, come on, Kaysen.
I played with Nick in
Grab him.
Detroit.
Scobie.
That may have been the worst snap I've ever seen. That was about
Who
3
is
yards
that?
wide.
Exactly.
Who's that dude?
I don't know, but he's going to be looking for a job
Yeah,
tomorrow.
my buddy Ryan.
Jeremy
Don
Kane.
Molback wouldn't
In
have
Cleveland?
snapped it like
Yeah.
that. Holy cow,
Was
that
he
bad?
snapping into the kicker? It
Yeah.
looked like he was
He had a
snapping
couple
into the
bad
kicker.
ones this year. Yeah.
It's like he went to lay down before getting the ball
Oh, my gosh,
first.
they were both on game winners, too.
Yes,
No one
they were.
accused them of being
Dribbled
athletes
back
on the
there.
team.
I was like, oh, SA's probably going to get cut. Next day he got cut.
That was
That was rough.
Jeremy Kane, the long snapper for the Jaguars.
Kane. Young Jeremy's going to be looking
rough.
for a job.
You ever do any long snapping?
I did in college.
Yeah.
It's not very easy, actually.
It looks a lot more easy
Yeah,
than
it looks
is,
easy.
right?
You're like, oh, I can do that forever. It's actually not that easy.
No, it's
It's pretty hard to do. Because it's easy to do one good one and like 2 okay ones and 1 bad one. Everyone good, it's not easy.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, if you want a job for life, if you're an athletic long snapper,
Oh,
because
And no one ever knows your name?
because there
It's a
are
good thing,
20
right?
years. Yeah.
there's a
Because
couple guys that have played
every
for
long snapper
years.
is
No.
not
Dude
even
from
close to
Minnesota.
professional athlete.
Is that Minnesota?
Leffler?
Minnesota, yeah,
Yeah.
Leffler, yeah.
Who's the
He's the one
guy?
that just got hurt.
Junkin was in Arizona. He played for 18 years.
Oh my God.
There's a guy in San Diego that was like 20-something years. I think he just got
Yeah,
cut this
what
year.
was his name?
No wonder the wheels came off in San Diego.
There's a lot of guys
Except
that have
the long
played for
snap.
so long you never
Best
hear
player
of
on the
them.
field.
Yep.
How does the long
Gotta get the ball in his
snapper,
hands.
How do they view that for like Pro Bowl voting?
It's
They
the
don't.
coach.
They
The coach gets
the
to pick it.
kicker.
The
Oh, the
coach
coach
picks
picks
it.
it.
Right.
It's
He brings his
usually
own,
the
right?
punter.
Brings his own
Because of
sometimes.
the longer
There's some stories
snaps,
around the
so
league
they're
that I can
comfortable
tell.
with.
Some
Okay.
long snappers that have been brought for certain reasons.
Okay.
You know, a lot of times it's a guy that's like when I went, it was Bartram. And I don't know if you know Mike
Yeah,
Bartram
yeah.
from Philly, one of the
Yeah, I actually met him,
greatest
yeah.
guys, and just
met
always
him,
did his
yeah.
job. So it was time for him to go.
Because I was wondering,
Great
the
guy.
dude up in
Did some,
Congo
management
who's
classes with him.
Leckler's, I was wondering how is he always there? And I'm like, well,
John
Shane
Kondo.
probably just tells him to go. Yeah.
John Kondo is a snap. I played a
But you
round
said the
with
kicker
him.
gets to pick him,
He's a
right?
snapper.
So it's kind of like, why not bring the one you've been
Leckler
using all year?
And Janikowski. Like Kondo is the best gig. Is Janikowski and Leckler.
Yeah.
Like
Basically.
Well, and they have the
Good for him.
greatest gig because they've been playing together for 12 years.
yeah,
People don't put much stock in that. They've had the same snapper for now 8 years,
yeah.
and the same kicker and punter, which is obviously Janikowski's holder, for 12 years.
Yeah.
If more people will put stock in that, of how comfortable you get with a holder and how comfortable he gets with how you like the ball, that's good for 8% on your field goal percentage.
Really? Yeah, right? Yeah, the
Yeah.
angle
Wow.
and everything, right?
Yeah. They
Well, as the Chargers bring out their extra point kicker here, let's go to our next one-on-one. Eric Winston going one-on-one with former NFL tight end Matt Murphy. Before they get into their stances for the one-on-one, let's take a few minutes to look at a video of Matt's appearance, his infamous appearance, on the Derek Dockery locker room show back when he was in Buffalo.
Oh, goodness. How
Yes,
dare you.
sir.
We're here, Matt Murphy, trying to find out his point of view on some of the guys on the team. Who has the best nickname on the team?
I say Robert Roll.
Oh, okay.
Sweet cream style corn.
Yeah.
It's the best nickname.
I definitely. In the straight manly fashion, who would you say is the best looking Bill on the team?
Hands down, your host.
Undoubtedly myself.
Undoubtedly
myself.
You think so?
Yeah.
You think so?
I saw you.
You think so?
You in Cosmo, you know. But
Yeah, you have to. You have to vote for yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
You have to. Confidence.
I'm going to have to go with myself.
Oh, you got to go with yourself?
Got to.
Okay.
Because I ain't going to
Hey,
say something.
yes, what I'm saying. You gotta have a swag. You gotta have confidence in this game. But you know, we all know.
Just because you was
Fred Jackson. Fred
Mr.
Jackson.
Mr. What was you?
Yeah, exactly.
I'd have to say myself.
Okay. Yeah. Since we're going to Miami, what people want to know, who does the best Jim Carrey impersonation, or do you do a good Jim Carrey impersonation?
No, I do not. But if I had to pick, just because he's so off the wall, I would have to go with Anthony Hargrove.
oh, I see then. Bumblebee tuna. Bumblebee tuna.
Let me tell you something. Yeah, okay, we're gonna cut that one out. But that was good though. That was good.
That's the best I can
All right, check it out. Appreciate you, man.
No problem.
All right.
All right, Matt Murphy, thanks for being here. Thanks for coming. It's good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you
I've seen
too.
you in a while. A lot of people don't know, but Matt was here when I first got here. You had already been weathering the storm.
Oh my gosh, it was a horrible storm we had to deal with. 2-14 before you got here. It was great.
That's bad.
Yeah.
But so you originally from Michigan, right?
Mm-hmm.
And went to Maryland.
Yeah.
The Fighting Ralph Regents in Maryland.
Yes.
How was everything? I mean, did you play other sports in Michigan growing up? Were you a hockey fan at all? Did you do other stuff besides football? Were you always kind of like a football guy?
No, I was more of a basketball player my whole life. I grew up basketball family. My oldest brother was a really good basketball player. He played against Chris Webber in high school. I played against Shane Batty in high school. Mm-hmm. They went to the same high school, so we were more of a basketball family. Me and my other brother Josh, the two youngest, were the only two that ever played football. So it was kind of an unknown territory for my family. It was like my sister was a cheerleader. The other two played basketball, so it's like football. Like, who cares about that? So it was kind of a different sport for our family, and I played baseball too. That's one thing no one ever did besides me. I mean, I was actually better at basketball than football my whole life, pretty much.
So you end up going to Maryland. Mm-hmm. You play kind of everything, right? At Maryland. Mm-hmm. Well, what was that like? Kind of just always. Was it a thing where you felt like you were always changing positions, or was it just like, hey, we try this or try this, kind of like let's keep moving around? Was it a fun thing, or was it kind of like God?
It was kind of like high school. Because high school I played, fullback, tight end, wide receiver, offensive line, defensive line. I played pretty much everything, so it was kind of like that. I didn't really want to move as much as I did. It was more of we have a guy hurt here. You were a defensive end in high school. Will you play here?
Sure.
So I did it just to play. The tight ends weren't getting many passes at Maryland at times. Our quarterbacks were horrible. So we didn't really get many balls. So I'm like, why not? I'll play more on this side. I originally went to Maryland to play basketball and football. Ended up playing football and was told I had to gain weight and get stronger and things like that, and never ended up playing basketball. So it was kind of a mix of sports and positions.
So you get to the league, and it's the same thing kind of keeps happening, right?
Yeah.
I mean, some people see you as a tackle, some people see you as a tight end. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like, do you wish, because you're such a good athlete, do you ever wish that you just made that transition and stuck with it in college?
I do.
Like you feel like you have a much better chance at being a pro at tackle that if you would have had 2 years of being a tackle at Maryland? I
agree. I do, because like yourself, you played tight end.
That was I tell you what, that was probably the best thing that ever happened to me is that for some reason one day I was like, yeah, I'll try tackle out, and it was I had 3 years of playing tackle and then going in and learning all the pass protections and things like that. Yeah. That was huge for me. I couldn't imagine trying to go to the NFL and just start playing tackle. I mean, I think that's you'd have to be just ridiculously physically gifted to even survive.
No, you're right, and that was my last year. They moved me to tackle finally, because I was always 275 as a tight end, so I was always a bigger type tight end. So they're like, well, we could put 30 pounds on you and move you to tackle. So in Buffalo, my last year I did, and I got up to about 310. And actually, when I was here, when you were here, they tried to move me to tackle, and I was kind of like, nah, I don't want to do it. So I left and went to Seattle and then to Buffalo. but I finally kind of succumbed to it at the end, and you know, I wish I would have done it much earlier, like you said, because it would have been so much easier. You're right. I mean, there's certain techniques you don't really know, and you can't learn, even though tight ends and tackles are similar with the guys they block.
Yeah.
You're still not an offensive lineman if you're a tight end. You can't really get those.
You don't practice it as much.
Yeah.
I mean, you're
you're running
only
routes.
half your game.
Yeah, you're running routes and doing other things, trying to be a receiver, which you're not. But yeah, I wish I would have done it earlier. It would have changed my career for sure.
So you kind of move around. Everyone has their different stories about moving around the league this year. You know, moving around the league. And do you have any like fond memory? Are you happy you kind of saw different organizations? And because I know some people that in different sports that travel around and ended up, you know, being at 3 or 4 or 5 different places, and they look at it fondly. They don't look at it as a bad thing.
I actually do look at it as a good thing. You know, I know, like yourself, you've been here your whole career, because I was here when you got here, so so I know that. But I do look at it as a good thing, because for me it was, you know, I got to see Houston. I love living here. That's why I moved back here when I was done. My rookie year was in Detroit, where I grew up, in Michigan. So it was fun to be able to be next to my family, be in a great city like Houston, which I'd never been to before I got here. Then go to Buffalo, which is an awesome city in its own right, really small, you know, close-knit type town, to see what it's like in a big city environment and a really tiny city.
Sure.
It's like a Green Bay type environment in Buffalo. So it was cool for me to see the different dynamics with the city itself, with the fans, and the team, how they react.
So you get done with your career, obviously. You finally say, you know, enough's enough. You settle here. I mean, what have you been up to? What have you been doing? I'm
a financial advisor, actually, now. The market's crazy, as you've heard, I'm sure. I've been doing that for about 2.5 years now.
Who you with?
IMG Financial Group.
Okay. You liking it? I mean, is that something, was that your college?
No, I do enjoy it. Actually, I went to college to be in the FBI. That's what I want to do, criminology. Originally. And my wife, we have 3 kids now, and she was like, "Well, really, do you want to get shot? You have kids now." I was like, "Not really." So I thought of a different path, and you know, financial industry always intrigued me. It was something I watched, you know, even when I was playing football. So it was something I wanted to do, and I really enjoy it. Been doing it for almost 3 years now.
Where do you want to be in 5 years from now? I mean, what do you want to be? Is this something that you're going to want to keep pursuing and see where it takes you? Is it something that, is there something still out there that, you know, like, if I ever get a chance, I really want to do that?
You know, I like being involved with football in some way, because I really do love football. You know, still to this day, I like watching you guys. You know, I come to every Texans game and I love it. My kids love it. I don't think I'd want to be a coach, because you know the hours they work and they move around. And the reason why I stopped playing is I didn't want to move anymore.
Sure.
So I think I'd want to be involved with football in some sort of way. I enjoy being on the radio, doing radio stuff with SportsRadio 610 here. Really enjoy that, because I get to talk about football and, you know, things I love, which is fun. But I do enjoy my job. Still be involved with them, you know, with clients and with the market and things like that. I do enjoy it.
So you just see it. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, with the radio thing, I think this is a lot of fun. I've done that for a couple months.
Yeah,
now.
I hear you on here.
I really do. Yeah, I hear you, and you know, I listen and get pointers from you. You know,
yeah, all right.
You're an old veteran here.
The old grizzly vet.
The vet.
Grizzly vet doing the radio thing. So you're going to stay with the investing thing. You're going to stay with the money management side and kind of see, like, I mean, obviously it's working out for you, and obviously you like it.
I do enjoy it. Yeah, it's a different world from what we're used to. I mean, it's, you know,
the day-to-day dealing with people has got to be so much different.
It's completely different, because when I was playing, I don't know about you, but stock market didn't even matter. I was like, who cares? I'm worried about this week, and you know, 2008 happened. I was still playing. I'm like, I don't care, whatever.
Now there's a 150-point dip, and you're getting
exactly. Now I'm like, oh my god. You know, people are calling me like, oh, what happened? So it's a different type of stress. You know, football has its own stress. It's a different world. It's a normal job, which is different for me too. But you know, it has its own, you know, benefits, has its own stresses. So it's different.
But thanks for being here.
Appreciate it, man.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having
me. Coming on. We're going to see a little, I think, 2002 Orange Bowl highlights.
Oh my gosh, please don't.
Lynch, the fullback, is directly behind Hill, and Perry now will move in motion. And off play action, Hill's got a man wide open, and this is going to be a touchdown. Jafar Williams for Maryland, 64 yards. picture perfect. That's how Ralph Friedgen drew it up.
This is exactly what Maryland needs in the way they played.
Comes to a close with a bang. Jafar Williams runs by everybody, and Hill put it right on him. 64 yards and a Maryland touchdown. And then he points to the crowd, most of them down in that corner that he was running for. So the Terps are right back in it. They spotted Florida 2 scores, but they've got a quick strike of their own at the end of one. It's Florida leading Maryland 14.
Whatever. Per usual.
Matt Murphy doing his best Jafar Williams impersonation out there in the Maryland uniform.
I love this guy.
You all right, Matt?
He's the same way. He's always been like, it's like if you give him a good line, he's got a good laugh for you. I appreciate that.
I'll spit my drink out. I'll spit my drink out. I will.
How long have you been out of the NFL?
2008 was my last year.
Do you miss it?
Of course I do.
Do you miss the games
or the locker room? What do you miss? Because
I
bet you I can guess
I
what
miss
you miss.
all that. I miss the locker room. I miss just being around the guys.
2 days.
That was actually why I stopped playing, because I was thinking, do I want to go through another training camp, not sure if I make the team, and I have to move again? I was like, nah, I'm good. So I had a lot of offers in 2009. Actually, in 2010, 2 people were calling me and, do you want to sign? And I'm like, oh, can you give me a guarantee? No, of course not. Well, I'm good. I'll stay where I am.
It's a roundabout way of giving the answer of the checks. You know?
Oh yeah, of course.
You missed the checks.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't miss the checks at all, because my wife even was like, well, why don't you keep playing? He's like, why don't you keep playing? What are the chances of you making the team? I'm like, well, they're this percent. She's like, well, if you can make that percentage or more making the team, what are the chances of that? And I'm like, nah, I'm not worried about that. If it was about the money, I would have kept playing. But it was more about the love of the game, and I love the game, and it turned into a business for me. And it was more like, if I keep playing, it's more about money. I didn't want to do that. So
good for you.
Yeah.
And you don't want to go into camp just to be an extra body.
Exactly. Oh, the camp
not
body.
Knowing with no guarantees, like, okay, I'm just gonna be an extra body.
I had that happen before.
So just stick around for 4 weeks, get beat up, knowing that you're gonna get cut.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that hurts.
That's always fun, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you play your hardest, it doesn't matter.
Camp's the worst, man. Camp is like, especially for those guys. It was such a slap in the face my rookie year, that you spend all the OTAs together, you spend all the time running together, and then the 6 weeks of camp that you feel like you're there literally like 18 hours a day, 16 hours a day, something like that, and then all of a sudden they're gone.
Yeah,
half the people are gone.
Yeah.
Yep.
You got 100 guys, and then all of a sudden, then you're like 53. Gone.
Yep.
How do they pay those guys? The guys that really don't have a shot at making the roster.
It's the weekly checks. You don't get anything.
You get a weekly check now. It used to be nothing. Now it's up a little bit more.
About $1,000 a week.
It was like it wasn't
much. It was like $500 or something like that. Yeah. Now it's up a little bit in the new CBA.
Right.
Put it at like $1,000. I think vets get like $1,000 a week or something like that.
And you get paid for games too, right?
No, that's just all in now.
Oh, really?
No, I thought you got the first week you get like $900, and then you get $1,100. The other ones you get $200 for the game.
And
it's like arena football.
The veterans like you guys, do you get paid a normal game check for a preseason game?
No.
It's the same kind of deal?
Once we make the team, our salary is split in whatever your salary is divided by 17. That's what you get paid a week.
Wow. So the preseason games, it's just
it's free.
That's why, people don't get
playing for free.
Yeah,
in a way.
Preseason's free.
99%.
In a way. If you look at it microly,
that's why owners don't want to get rid of those preseason games.
But you got to think, with the preseason game money, though, goes into a pool that ends up making up the salary cap as well.
They're charging full price for those tickets, though, and they're not paying you guys a regular game check.
They
I got a problem
concessions,
with that.
everything.
Well, yeah, because you're not seeing the players you want to see either.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. The rules are different now with the practice schedule and training camp and things like that. But I've always thought preseason was a ripoff for fans.
Yeah.
I mean,
me too.
I don't want to see me. I want to see with Daniels. I mean, think about it.
I want to see me out there.
I'm not gonna lie. I want to see you.
I feel bad for all these people out there watching me.
Who's that?
That's what they're paying for.
I want to see Billy Miller. Like, who's that? But yeah, it's a little different.
Another college question here. Going back to the college ranks, all the coaching changes happening. A lot of openings out there. UCLA, Arizona State, Illinois, North Carolina. Of course, Texas A&M. We got rid of Mike Sherman last week. First off, is Kevin Sumlin? Do you see him fitting in at A&M? I'm not sure that's a good fit.
Why? Because he's black?
Yeah.
I think that's part of it.
Yep.
And I'm not saying he couldn't coach
Look at
there.
you. You're
I think so,
no,
too.
You're so liberal from Austin.
I
You're so
agree with
worldly.
I
You're
agree
so
with him.
worldly.
Wait, hold on.
Austin. You're so worldly.
I don't think it's a question of he can't coach there. I'm wondering how he's going to be accepted by the Aggie faithful.
I
He was an
completely
assistant
agree
there.
with him.
An assistant or a head? They've never had a
different.
black head coach.
So?
Might be
Because
time for
it's
change.
different.
It's different. I promise you it's different.
It's
Aggie land.
what is it?
Is it because it's
2011?
an agriculture and mining school?
2011?
Yeah.
It's pretty much.
Jesus,
Yeah.
it's about time. Something needs to happen.
No, it's a different world out there when you get
No,
head
it is.
coach.
I understand. I believe it. My parents live in College Station.
Are
Wandering
they-
over there, you're like, Jesus. My brothers went there. No, I mean,
Do you think he ends up at A&M? Is that the best
I'd
fit
be
for him?
shocked if he's not. I mean, I just think with everything that's happened, I think it's very suspicious that Sherman just kind of just got fired on not a whim, but the way it happened. And,
It happened so quickly.
yeah, you'd think that if it would have happened right after the Texas game, not wait 4 or 5 days, and then all of a sudden he's out on the road recruiting, and then just can't.
They waited till he left. And they're like, yeah, 25 and
He
25.
found out.
You're fired.
He apparently
Is he
found out
coaching
from
on
a
the
recruit's
is he
mom.
coaching in the-
No, he's not. The defensive DC is going to handle the team.
He should have been fired though. I mean, look at
Sherman, 4 years.
yeah,
You
we,
can make
we
the
know
argument either
Sherm.
way.
We know Sherm. I mean, he's
No, you can make
good
the argument
coach.
either way. I completely.
25 and 25.
No, I completely agree, but you got
That's
to also
bad.
look at where was the program before.
They actually won
and what
9
style,
games
and what
before.
style of play are they playing now? Is it a lot better, or is it, they faded? My biggest problem is how much they consistently faded in the second half of all these games, and that to me is something that either they're getting overworked or they're something's happening there, because you just don't fade in 4 games like that.
Like horrible.
And, I mean,
double-digit leads.
And it wasn't like it looked exactly the same every game.
It did.
It looked exactly the same. So something was going on there. It just something didn't fit.
Maybe the prevent defense reared its ugly head. They played.
I don't even know, but
Prevents you from winning.
You're right. It's either the
There you go.
overworked, underworked, they're not in shape, or
That's what happened to us in the Super Bowl.
I don't even know what to say. It was. You're right. It was the same game.
What about, though, like at U of H, they've had trouble stopping even decent teams defensively. Would Sumlin's style of play work in the SEC with the Aggies going there?
Why wouldn't it?
I think it would.
I mean, you're not going to get into many 49 to 45 shootouts.
I think
in
it
the
would,
SEC.
because his defensive coordinator would be much better than U of A.
Could he get a better coordinator?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steve Spurrier had a good deal going at
Yeah,
Florida.
pretty good
No,
track
you
record
ain't
there.
kidding.
Spreading it out, throwing it around.
They
You gotta
also got
remember, too,
Danny
you gotta remember too,
Warfel.
Sumlin has been in a lot of different offenses too. It's not always.
Oklahoma.
This is as probably as spread out and as wide open as he's been. I mean, he turned around an A&M offense back in 01, I think 02, that was struggling bad. And he came in mid-year as the offensive coordinator, and they started putting up points.
Yep.
He's been the OC at Oklahoma when they put up a lot of points. Now he's the head coach. He's consistently everywhere he's been, they've put up a lot of points. And I think that says something at least about what he knows on the offensive
Right.
side.
Oh,
of
I
the
have
ball.
no questions about him offensively. I just wonder if he'll ever have a strong defense, because I've never seen it. Cougars have never had a good defense.
You're right. I just think who they bring in as a DC, though. I think who they can get to come to Houston is the issue.
Did you bring Brian Stewart with him?
B. Stu.
I don't know.
I don't know. B. Stu has
That's a
done
good
well.
question.
I mean, he's actually brought. If you look at the stats for defense from last year to this year,
Do you
they're
say
up,
it's a
30
talent
places?
thing at Houston much more than a coaching
I think it's a
thing?
talent
Do you-
thing for sure.
Would you take Kevin Sumlin if you're at A&M ahead of guys like Kirby Smart at Alabama, the defensive coordinator there, Larry Fedora, whose Southern Miss team made U of H look pretty silly on Saturday?
Yeah, he did.
Well, Larry Fedora didn't make all those guys drop those passes either.
No.
That's true. Down the middle. Great pass.
Passing the hands, you know?
Sure, yeah.
I still think it's crazy Art Briles his name's not being brought up for these jobs. I mean, he knows the landscape of college of Texas recruiting, and I'm not saying someone doesn't, but he's won everywhere he's been. Everywhere he's been. Someone's won it, but he's only been a head coach in one place. Briles has been head coach now at 2 places. He's revered as a great high school head coach as well here in Texas. I'm surprised that Briles his name's not being considered harder, because if I'm A&M, I'm looking at that guy because I think he's done some stuff. But you're right, Kirby Smart's a great name out there, defensive coordinator at Alabama, has been a Saban lieutenant for a long time, NFL coach. Just he knows a lot about defensive football. There's a lot of good names out there right now. There's a lot of good jobs open right now. UCLA is a great job.
I think UCLA, if I were someone...
UCLA is a great job. ASU is a great job.
I'd look at that UCLA job just because...
What about
ASU is a great job.
To me, that's an untapped market.
I mean,
UCLA.
Let's figure this out. Something's got to be wrong with Bryles because ASU's front runner supposedly is June Jones at SMU.
Yeah.
What is wrong with Art Bryles? I mean, Jesus. If you're going to go after June Jones, to me, Art Bryles is
that
June
a
Jones
step?
2.0.
Is that a step up for Bryles, though? Is it a step up?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
ASU?
Well,
ASU?
Oh, yeah.
For Baylor?
I guess where does Baylor end up in the reorg if the Big 12 goes away?
For sure, ASU is a step up. That's not even close.
Yep.
Just the facilities alone, conference. I mean, that's location.
More people want to go to ASU.
Exactly.
Right. You got that factor. A lot of people don't want to go to Baylor.
Girls are better there.
ASU's got
party school.
55, 60,000 students. It's the biggest public university.
Is it really?
I
didn't know it was that big.
Yeah, it's real big.
Wow.
They got some talent down there, too.
I wouldn't know. Happily married.
What kind of talent do you mean? Sorry.
All areas.
I've never been there. Never.
Please explain.
Never been there.
Drew Hodgson could tell you.
Oh, Drew. Oh, Drew.
What about Illinois jobs open? Would you think they would reach down to Texas to bring up a Sumlin or a Bryles?
Illinois?
They got rid of
I
Zook.
believe so, yeah.
Zook?
Really? You know what's weird about that is Zook is like such a roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
He was what they start 6-0, 7-0 this year, something like
They
that?
started 6-0 and ended 6-6.
Yeah.
That is unbelievable.
A&M, like, almost.
If there's a really good coach that enjoys landing in the middle of a bunch of cornfields, we'll take him.
I wonder if any of the coaches that got fired
Illinois is a
just
great
going to swap
job.
around with any of the
it's
other coaches that got
yeah.
fired from other schools. Sherman might go somewhere.
Illinois is
Champagne.
everything that's in Champaign-Urbana, and it's well supported, good fans. So it's
You
a
can
good
win
job.
Illinois.
Javon
Definitely.
brings up a good
Bring back
question.
Chicago.
Does a Ron Zook or a Mike Sherman get another head
There you
coaching
go to
gig
one of those.
at one of these other
Sherman's
schools that's
pretty
open?
well respected.
Yeah, Sherman.
And you know what he did?
will.
He did a great job in that press conference after he got fired.
I thought he handled it really well.
Yeah.
He handled it real well. He just came off as a class act. He came off as. I think he's probably more of an NFL guy. I always wondered how he was going to recruit, how that was going to happen, how and he brought some guys in. You got to give him credit. He brought
Especially
some guys.
linemen. I mean,
he's got
with
some
his
great-
credentials.
But to me, college football is all about getting those stud athletes. You got to get the studs up front. I mean, if you get the stud, you get that Cam Newton, you get that kind of that Robert Griffin, you get that transcendental player. You can write your own ticket.
Yeah, you can go a lot of places with that player. Twitter question I want to get to you before the end of the game. This is from Tim. He wonders why Donovan McNabb isn't getting any run about being signed in Chicago, given Caleb Haney's struggles. And, yet people are throwing around Brett Favre's name still. I mean, Donovan McNabb at least has played in the league more recently.
He has, but he's looked absolutely awful. I mean, Rex Grossman, really? I mean, come on. That's what the issue is. The Brett Favre thing is ridiculous. If you're not saying Donovan McNabb, how do you say Brett Favre? Like, It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, those two should not be in the same sentence because at least McNabb has been playing, like you said.
Right.
But if McNabb looked that awful that Rex Grossman can beat him out, why do you want him on your team?
Right.
It's not the McNabb of 4 years ago. It's the McNabb now.
I've heard some whispers that Donovan may have trouble working with young quarterbacks. I mean, you think that keeps him out of some jobs?
He hasn't looked good.
Some opportunities?
I think he's getting at a point right now where he's not being the guy anymore. So now he feels like maybe in his own head he doesn't have to still compete with some of the guys they're making him compete with. Almost like a disrespect factor.
Yeah.
And with his name getting thrown around, obviously with Chicago, I think, me personally, it would be even worse because everybody knows a Mike Marks offense is tricky.
Yeah.
So if he didn't look good in Minnesota, how do you expect him to come into a system when you're trying to make a playoff run and get everybody gelling with him?
With a more complicated system.
With a more complicated system that he doesn't know nothing about. You just kind of use what you have there that at least they know it. Might not be as good, but at least they know it.
What would you do if you're the Bears, who 3 weeks ago, looked like you were on track for the playoffs. Now with Caleb Haney, you'd be lucky to make it.
Well, Jay Cutler, I mean, that shows how important he really was.
Yeah.
Huh?
Right.
And he was making some ridiculous throws, though, when he was in there. I mean, the first couple of weeks he got beat up a lot. They didn't protect him at all. And then he started just making these plays that, I mean, throwing from down low and submarine throws and just ridiculous things he was doing. That shows you how important he really was to the team now. I mean, there's no quarterback position looks wide open now.
I think you put it on the defense's back. Let him control the game, and then tell your defense, like, listen, we got to get this guy some help. Won't be scoring as many points, but, you know.
I don't know if they're
Katie, the referee girl.
Just for fun, I had to share this billboard. Firing your coach, $5 million. Leaving your conference, $20 million. Going to the SEC with no coach and no clue, priceless.
Love it.
Obviously from a Longhorn fan.
Obviously.
I like it.
Very, very
That's all I got.
Thank you, Katie. Thanks to Javon Walker, Matt Murphy, Neil Rackers, and, of course, Eric Winston. I want to say thanks